Chapter 321. Xiaochen casually flipped through the pages of the book. Suddenly, a map fell out of the book. Xiaochen felt it was strange as he picked it up. He discovered that it was a map of the Firely sect branch. Xiaochen's depressed expression disappeared. He smiled and said, "Unexpectedly, there is a map inside. Let me find where the refining room is." The refining room is the true location of the Firely sect's treasures. After Xiaochen confirmed his location, he looked around quickly, searching for the refining room. He discovered that the refining room was a kilometer northeast of him. However, that was a straight-line distance. According to the directions on the map, he would have to walk another 5 kilometers after making a few turns. Xiaochen put away the map and placed the book introducing secret treasures into his universe ring. This book was still useful after all. He could keep it in case he needed it in the future. After confirming the direction, Xiaochen punched the wall in front of him. When 15,000 kilograms of force struck it, a human-shaped hole appeared in the thick wall. After walking another 5 kilometers, Xiaochen no longer had the patience to do so. Furthermore, time waited for no man. If someone got ahead of him in the ancient remnant, he might not be able to obtain anything. Since the distance was only a kilometer, he would use his fist to blast a path out. As Xiaochen used his fist to open a path, Wen Yanbin followed behind him. When he saw the large number of iron-armored warriors scattered on the ground, he had an astonished expression. This is clearly not the work of the silver-armored warriors. Instead, it is this person's true strength. Is it right for me to follow him? At this moment, Xiaochen hesitated for the first time. However, he destroyed so many iron-armored warriors. He must have exhausted some of his strength. I am not exhausted at all. My aura is still at its peak. If I attack him, I have a high chance of victory. When Yanbin found an excuse in his heart, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he continued to follow. Xiaochen, who was focused on opening a path for himself, did not know that a group of people had already followed him. However, even if he knew, he would not care too much. It would be fine as long as he remained cautious. Behind him, 2 silver-armored warriors completely covered the hole in his back. He only had to worry about the danger in front of him. Boom. When the last wall was broken, Xiaochen finally arrived at the refining room. When the huge refining room appeared before his eyes, Xiaochen's gaze immediately turned grave. On the floor of the artifact refining room, there were various artifacts covered in dust, but with a glance, one could tell that most of them were incomplete and not of much use. In the middle of the refining room, there was a huge 3-legged cauldron with dragons and phoenixes carved on it. The legendary Dragon Phoenix Cauldron? On top of the cauldron, there were 3 balls of white flames. They were bone-chilling and floated strangely above the cauldron. They did not emit any light. Were these the legendary lunar flames? However, this was not the reason why Xiaochen's gaze turned grave. Instead, it was because someone had rushed into the refinery ahead of him. The commotion Xiaochen had had. The other party had noticed him. And he immediately. "Du Hao." After Xiaochen clearly saw the other party's appearance, he exclaimed in astonishment. Didn't he go to chase after Chu Chaoyan? Why is he here? The combat techniques that this person displayed in the fight with the Scarlet Flame Chief left a deep impression on Xiaochen. Although the other party was only a superior grade martial saint and had not reached the peak, Xiaochen did not dare to underestimate this person. Compared to some high-profile people, this person's character and martial techniques belonged to the type that would erupt in silence. His strength could not be underestimated. Otherwise, Duan Yiking would not have chosen this person to help kill the Scarlet Flame Chief. Du Hao raised his head and looked at Xiaochen. His calm face revealed a grave expression. He said, "Are you here for the Lunar True Flame and the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron as well? Could it be that the Lunar True Flame and the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron are real?" Based on the words of this person, it seems like he understands them very well. There is no harm in getting some information from him first. Xiaochen slowly walked forward and smiled softly. Could it be that the Lunar True Flame and the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron are real? Du Hao's heart skipped a beat. He instantly knew that Xiaochen did not know the origins of the Lunar True Flame. However, there was no harm in telling him. Perhaps he could avoid an unnecessary fight. Naturally, it is impossible for it to be real. The Dragon Phoenix cauldrons in the Firely Sex Branch Hall are all fakes. However, they are necessary to refine secret treasures. The lunar true flames are only 4 strands that were separated from the lunar origin source. Your purple flame is of the yang attribute. The lunar true flame is an extreme flame. It is useless to you. The Dragon Phoenix cauldron is a fake. I believe it is useless to you as well. You can have all the secret treasures on the ground. I only want the cauldron and the flame. What do you think? Du Hao suggested softly as he looked at Xiaochen. Although many of the secret treasures on the ground were damaged, there were so many of them. It would not be difficult to find a few complete secret treasures. In the eyes of a normal person, choosing the secret treasures was more worthwhile. After all, as long as the secret treasures were not badly damaged, they could still be sold for some spirit stones. Xiaochen smiled faintly. What if I make the same choice as you? When Du Hao heard this, he laughed softly. He said in a sullen voice, I already guessed your choice. In that case, we can only fight. After Du Hao spoke, he pushed off the ground and leaped into the air. He passed through the tall Dragon Phoenix cauldron and twisted his waist in midair. Then he kicked out with his right leg. When Du Hao kicked out, a strong wind blew. There was a loud crack in the air. Xiaochen's expression did not change. He was not afraid. When it came to physical strength, he had never been afraid of anything. Xiaochen quickly stepped forward with his right foot and circulated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. The image of a dragon and tiger surrounded his body. There was a whistling sound as he clenched his right fist and punched the incoming kick. Boom! When the fist and leg collided, there was a loud explosion. A horrifying shockwave swept past the two of them, blowing away all the damaged secret treasures on the ground. Du Hao's body quickly spun around in the air. He did not land on the ground. Instead, he kicked out with an even faster speed, piercing through the air in his way. Interesting. Right now, my ferocious tiger leaving the mountains can already achieve close to 40,000 kilograms of force. My opponent's physical strength is, at most, 1 grade higher than Wenyan Bean's. There is still a significant gap between us. Logically speaking, after receiving my punch, you should be knocked down from the sky. However, my opponent seems to have grasped an extremely profound technique to deflect force. Not only did he neutralize my force, but he also used my force when he spun around. Xiaochen merged his own force together and kicked out even more ferociously. In that case, let's see how long your deflecting techniques can last. Xiaochen shouted and shifted his feet, moving to the side. Xiaochen moved in a semicircle and dodged Du Hao's sharp kick. Then he arrived at Du Hao's side and punched at Du Hao's waist. Du Hao's expression remained calm as he looked at the position where Xiaochen instantly moved. He quickly withdrew his move and somersaulted in the air. Then, he increased the force of his earlier kick by 10%. Du Hao's right leg was like an upside-down hook as it chopped down at Xiaochen's head. Xiaochen's punch missed, causing the air to tremble and form ripples. At this moment, Xiaochen could no longer dodge. He could only defend. He pulled back his right leg and crossed his arms above his head. Bang! The huge force was like a small mountain pressing down. Xiaochen did not move at all. However, the stone floor could not withstand this horrifying pressure. The stone floor shattered and pieces of the floor flew into the air, heading for the ceiling of the refining room. Du Hao quickly retracted his leg in midair and somersaulted backwards. Xiaochen shouted explosively and all the energy in his body trembled. The surrounding floorboards immediately shattered with a loud rumble. Dragon hisses, tiger roars. A tiger and a dragon flew out from behind Xiaochen. The tiger's roar and the dragon's roar accompanied each other, raising their auras. The moment Du Hao landed, Xiaochen's fist had already arrived in front of his face, not giving him any chance to dodge. Uchi. Du Hao took a step back at lightning speed. Then he loosened his fingers and pressed them against Xiaochen's wrist. Xiaochen's peak punch contained 25,000 kilograms of force. When it flew over, it was like a large truck moving at high speed. Its speed and force were both at their peak. However, when Du Hao's palm strike landed on Xiaochen's wrist, it easily pushed away this roaring punch. In an instant, the wind from Xiaochen's fist deviated. This was the move that Du Hao used to deal with the Scarlet Flame Chief. When he used it on Xiaochen, It was unexpectedly effective. Xiaochen immediately felt a force pulling him forward. Because the force was too ferocious, he could not stop in time. Du Hao smacked away Xiaochen's attack with his palm. Then his body slid gently and nimbly arrived behind Xiaochen. He looked at Xiaochen, who could not stop in time. Du Hao clenched his right hand tightly, and a horrifying force burst out from his palm. Then he punched at Xiaochen's back without hesitation. If this punch landed, Xiaochen might end up like the Scarlet Flame Chief. At the critical moment, Xiaochen remained calm. His thoughts were highly focused, searching for a way to break out of this situation. Xiaochen's forward charge was too ferocious. Regardless of whether he turned around or moved to the side, it would be problematic. Before he could do anything, he would be struck by the other party's fist. Xiaochen could not see how strong Du Hao's punch was. However, he was sure that it was no less than 15,000 kilograms of force. Boom! At the critical moment, Xiaochen punched the ground ferociously. Boom! 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 A horrifying force of 25,000 kilograms of force smashed into the ground. It was like a mountain had landed on the ground. The entire refinery started to shake uncontrollably. The floorboards around Xiaochen immediately shattered, and countless rocks flew into the air. The rocks happened to block Du Hao's path. Bang! Du Hao easily smashed all the rocks into dust, scattering them in the air. The rock successfully helped Xiaochen block for a breath of time. Although the time was short, Xiaochen, who had already neutralized the force, was sufficient to dodge Du Hao's attack. Windwalk Shoes Blue Dragon Cloud Soaring Art, Blue Dragon Tail Whip. Xiaochen instantly activated the Windwalk Shoes and executed the Azure Dragon Cloud Soaring Art. He was like a flood dragon moving gently from his original spot. He moved in a purple arc and appeared 200 meters away in an instant. Chapter 322. Boom! Xiaochen's figure had just disappeared when Du Hao smashed the floor with his fist. He rushed over, but he only managed to shatter an afterimage. In the end, his punch missed. Xiaochen turned around and took out the lunar shadow saber from the universe ring. When he saw Du Hao walk out from the dust, he slowly placed his right hand on the saber hilt. Xiaochen had to admit that Du Hao's close combat skills far surpassed Xiaochen's. Out of all the people Xiaochen had seen, only Mu Heng, who used his physical body to comprehend the saber Dao, could compare to Du Hao. However, Xiaochen's true strength lay in the saber and not in close combat. Xiaochen only wanted to experience different martial techniques by fighting with him. Take the secret treasures on the ground and leave. After I draw my saber, you will no longer have a chance, Xiaochen said softly. There was no grudge between the two of them. There was no need for them to fight to the death. The corner of Du Hao's lips curled up. He smiled coldly. What big words! I want to see how you will not give me a chance. Traceless autumn water. After Du Hao spoke, he shouted and leaped into the air. He quickly circled around Xiaochen. Du Hao was like a stream of autumn water as he moved quickly in the air, creating countless afterimages. When the afterimages merged, they looked like a blurry river with gentle ripples. So he has comprehended the state of water. No wonder he is so confident, Xiaochen thought to himself. However, this state has just been formed. It is far inferior to Duanmuking, Murongchong, and the others. Before his state of thunder infused with holy might, how could it stand a chance? Boom! An earth-shattering clap of thunder suddenly rang out in the refining room. The moment the thunder rang out, the rippling river immediately began to ripple out of Du Hao's control. Kasi. The instant the thunder roared, Xiaochen quickly drew the lunar shadow saber. It was like a bolt of lightning flashing by. The purple saber chi struck Du Hao, whose state was suppressed. Bang! A horrifying wound was left on Du Hao's chest as he fell heavily to the ground. His face was filled with disbelief. His opponent had actually completely suppressed his state. As long as it could have been used, it would have definitely been able to turn the situation around, but it had collapsed midway. It was truly hateful. Xiaochen took light steps and sheathed the lunar shadow saber. He did not even look at Du Hao as he headed for the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron and the lunar true flame in the refining room. Du Hao, who was on the ground, bandaged the wounds on his body. He looked at Xiaochen and said coldly, "Even if you defeat me, You will not be able to obtain the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron and the Lunar True Flame. Chu Chaoyun has subdued the golden armored warrior. He is not someone you can deal with. The 9 of us were scattered by him. Once he finds this place, you definitely won't stand a chance. It was easy to understand the mentality of such a person. If they could not obtain something, they would not want others to obtain it. Hence, even if they failed, they would use this self-deceiving reason to console themselves. Xiao Chen's gaze was fixed on the 4 clumps of lunar true flame. He said indifferently without even turning his head, "That is not something for you to worry about." When Du Hao saw that Xiao Chen was ignoring him, he snorted coldly. He found several broken secret treasures on the ground and left the refining room the way he came. The wound on Xiao Chen's chest contained the state of thunder. However, the wound could not heal quickly. His fortuitous encounters in the fiery sect remnant had come to an end here. Xiao Chen stared at the 4 clumps of white flames floating above the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. The flames did not have any light. They were pale white. Each clump of flames was about the size of a fist. They floated quietly above the mouth of the cauldron. When the wind blew, they swayed gently. Ao Jiao once told Xiao Chen that there were 4 kinds of strange flames in the world: human flame, ghost flame, dragon flame, and dragon flame. There were 2 types of ghost flame. One was in the profound Yin cave, and the other was in the 9 layers of hell. Xiao Chen suspected that the lunar true flame might be the ghost flame in the profound Yin cave. The possibility of it being the lunar true flame was very high. The 4 clumps of white flames before Xiao Chen were clearly rootless flames. Hence, they did not contain the lunar origin flame. However, they still stubbornly persisted for thousands of years. If no one interfered with them, they would continue to exist. The life force of these flames was very strong. Everyone knew that the fiery sect used the lunar true flame and the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron to refine secret treasures. After the ancient era, only the fiery sect had the ability to refine secret treasures. It was very likely because of these 2 items. Xiao Chen had always been very interested in refining secret treasures. Naturally, he could not let go of the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron and the lunar true flame before him. Although they were not the real deal, they were still very valuable. However, Xiao Chen was placed in a difficult position as to how to preserve the 4 clumps of lunar true flame. The cauldron was easy to deal with. He could just store it in the universe ring. However, he could not store pure energy in the universe ring. That would break the balance of the formation lines. A magic treasure to store the flames would require a special refinement. If it were a yang attribute flame, Xiao Chen could just use the purple thunder true fire to swallow it up. However, the lunar true flame was an extreme yin flame. It was difficult to merge yin and yang. After thinking for a long time, Xiao Chen sent out his spiritual sense from his sea of consciousness. He decided to figure out the nature of this white flame first. His spiritual sense turned into a thin film and wrapped around the flame. Xiao Chen carefully examined the internal structure of the flame. So, before Xiao Chen could react, the flame wrapped by his spiritual sense passed through the blue strip of cloth on his forehead and entered his sea of consciousness. Within the vast and boundless sea of consciousness, a strand of white flame floated quietly beside the scarlet throne. It was the dim white flame. Xiao Chen was startled. Then he revealed a joyful expression. He said softly, "Could it be that the sea of consciousness has the ability to store flames? Let me see if I can summon it out." Xiao Chen closed his eyes and sensed the white flame in his sea of consciousness. With a thought, the flame immediately flew out from the mark on his forehead. With another thought, the flame returned with a so sound. This time, there was no spiritual sense wrapped around it. The blue strip of cloth on his forehead was burned in half by the flame and could not be used. Naturally, Xiao Chen did not care about such a small matter. He immediately took action and placed the other 3 clumps of white flame into his sea of consciousness. After all the flames were stored in his sea of consciousness, Xiao Chen took out another blue strip of cloth and tied it around his forehead. Boom! Just as Xiao Chen tied the cloth, a loud shout came from behind him. A stout figure quickly leaped over from behind and punched at the unprepared Xiao Chen. The fist wind vibrated in the air, forming a ferocious shockwave. As it rubbed against the air, it gave off a piercing sonic boom. The attack was so fast that it did not give Xiao Chen any time to dodge or draw his saber. Xiao Chen's expression turned cold, and all the bones in his body crackled. Then he turned around and punched. Bang! The sound of bones breaking resounded. When Yanbin, who had launched the sneak attack, fell to the ground and cried out in pain. His entire right hand had turned into a pile of meat paste, swaying weakly on the ground. When Yanbin's right hand was completely crippled, there was no chance of recovery. He revealed a horrified expression on his pained face. When Yanbin had not expected that his full-powered strike, which contained close to 20,000 kilograms of force and a sneak attack that he had prepared for a long time, would lose to his opponent in one move. Just as when Yanbin was about to get up and flee, two swords were placed on his neck. It was Xiao Chen controlling the silver-armored warrior, preventing him from escaping. "Don't kill me. My arm is crippled. I am already half a cripple." When Yanbin begged bitterly, Xiao Chen said coldly, "Cripple your left hand and you can scram." When Yanbin heard this, he was stunned. Crippling both hands would make him a cripple. The cultivation that he had painstakingly cultivated for more than 10 years would have to bid farewell to the path of cultivation. When Yanbin saw Xiao Chen's impatient expression, he revealed a decisive expression. He circulated his essence to his left hand and broke all the meridians in his arm. When Xiao Chen saw the situation, he ignored Yanbin. He directed the silver-armored warrior to release its sword. From the moment Xiao Chen launched the sneak attack, he should have been prepared for the worst. Dong, 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 dong. The 10-odd cultivators who had followed Xiao Chen to the passageway all rushed over. They happened to see when Yanbin's arms crippled. They all revealed astonished expressions. When Yanbin, why are his arms crippled? It seems like he crippled his left arm himself. He is one of the few experts in Dongming province. Who could have forced him to such a state? Look at the wounds on his right arm. It is clear that he was completely suppressed by his opponent's physical strength in a contest of physical strength. Who exactly is this strong? When they shifted their gazes to Xiao Chen, who was in the refinery, everyone immediately stopped talking, as the answer was obvious. They had to quickly move the Dragon Phoenix cauldron away. Otherwise, when Duanmuking and the others arrived, it would be difficult to move the Dragon Phoenix cauldron away. There are actually complete secret treasures on the ground. Furthermore, there are quite a few of them. We have made a killing this time. Haha. The one in the middle seems to be the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. That is definitely the most valuable. It is a necessity for refining secret treasures. After a while, everyone discovered the situation in the refinery. All of them cried out excitedly. Unexpectedly, they found several complete secret treasures among the pile of shattered secret treasures. Normally, they would rarely see secret treasures. However, they managed to find quite a few of them. The few of them did not hesitate to rush to the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. When Xiao Chen saw the situation, his expression changed. He pushed off the ground and leaped into the air, landing firmly on the mouth of the cauldron. Kasie. The snow-white lunar shadow saber was drawn with a huangdang sound. Killing chi was released from his entire body, as Xiao Chen looked at the crowd below expressionlessly. Yichen, what are you trying to do? Quickly come down. You should have already taken away the lunar true flame in the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. Don't be so greedy and think about taking the Dragon Phoenix cauldron away. That's right. Although you are strong, you are definitely not a match for all of us. When the people below saw Xiao Chen standing on the mouth of the cauldron, they all started to berate him. The people who could participate in this operation were not weak. When Yanbin's tragic ending did not scare them away, no matter how strong Xiao Chen was. The people present believed that even if they had the numbers, Xiao Chen would not be a match for them. Stop speaking nonsense with him. Let's attack together and kill this fellow who does not know his limits. Coincidentally, we can split the secret treasures and the lunar true flame on him. Chapter 323. The moment Xiao Chen spoke, a few bold and skilled people took the lead to attack. Soon 10-odd outstanding talents followed suit. All sorts of resplendent sword chi and saber chi merged with the killing chi and surged over from all directions. Xiao Chen's lips curled up into a cold smile. He said sullenly, "How reckless. If you are not strong enough, what is the point of having numbers? Wuxia transforms to qi. Xiaochen shouted, and the ancient divine Wuxia tree appeared from nowhere. Then it turned into strands of dense purple saber qi and scattered into the surroundings. Dang, dang, dang. The purple saber qi clashed with the various colored sword qi and saber qi from the crowd below, giving off loud bangs. The extremely dense sword qi was extremely powerful. The incredibly dense sword qi shattered most of the sword qi in an instant. However, its momentum did not decrease as it continued towards the crowd with electric light. A few strands of sword qi managed to escape the net. However, Xiaochen brandished his saber and flickered with saber light, easily blocking these saber qi. Xiaochen stood above the cauldron, not moving at all. He appeared very relaxed. The saber technique that contained a state was not something these people could block. The horrifying and dense purple saber qi immediately disrupted everyone's formation. The sword qi tore through several people's protective essence. Horrifying wounds appeared on their bodies, causing them to bleed profusely. Xiaochen frowned slightly. His sharp spiritual sense detected 3 people flying over quickly from behind. They emitted killing qi and pointed their weapons at his back. Qi breaks Wuxia. The remnant purple qi in the air gathered on the snow-white lunar shadow saber. Xiaochen turned around and chopped at lightning speed. Kasi, Kase, Kasi. 3 melodious sounds rang out. The weapons of the 3 people were broken by Xiaochen's extremely dense saber. The energy gathered on the saber surged endlessly. Xiaochen shouted and the purple glazed saber exploded. As the shockwave surged, the 3 of them turned pale. They vomited a mouthful of blood, and were sent flying. Xiaochen held his saber and stood there proudly. His expression was incomparably grave and stern. He said indifferently, "You can pick up the secret treasures on the ground. However, don't have any designs on the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. Otherwise, you will have to ask the saber in my hand first." The domineering blade directly shocked everyone in the arena. They all stopped what they were doing, and for a moment, the arena was extremely quiet. How arrogant. "I, Nanling Hongyendu, want to see how strong you are." A disdainful voice rang out from the crowd. A cultivator in white robes holding a 7-foot-long sword flew out from the crowd. His sword danced, creating a series of light and shadows. Hongyendu's body fluttered about in the air. His movements were erratic, making it hard for others to catch him. In the blink of an eye, he turned around and sent out over 100 sword lights at Xiaochen. White clouds appeared around him. This person had comprehended the state of clouds. No wonder his sword technique was so erratic. It had a trace of Morongchang's charm from back then. Xiaochen's expression did not change. Electric light flickered around his body, illuminating the huge refinery. Occasionally, electricity crackled in the air. Seeing the thousands of sword lights in front of him, Xiaochen's expression did not change. He held his saber in front of him to protect himself as he attacked unhurriedly. At first, Xiaochen could still be seen clearly. However, after a while, he slowly sped up. Then he became so fast that no one could even see his afterimages. Dang, 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 dang. The sounds of weapons clashing resounded. Occasionally, sword qi and saber qi clashed around Xiaochen. They gave off intense explosions, causing the air to churn. Amid the thousands of clouds, Hongyendu's figure was still as erratic as before. However, his expression became increasingly anxious. This was because he discovered that, at some point in time, the one who originally had the initiative to attack had become Xiaochen's. Now he had to defend. Xiaochen was clearly standing where he was, not moving a single step. However, even though he moved later, he arrived first, completely suppressing Hongyendu's aura. As the other party's saber approached, Hongyendu felt that it was even more difficult to block. Sweat dripped down Hongyendu's face. His originally erratic figure slowly revealed an opening. Break! A bright light suddenly shot out from Xiaochen's eyes. He shouted and the tip of his saber released a resplendent electric light. Xiaochen twisted his waist and stabbed out with his saber. The strong force in the electric light knocked aside the sword Hongyendu used to block with just a touch. The saber's momentum did not decrease as it easily broke through Hongyendu's protective essence and left a huge wound on his chest. Hong Yendu cried out miserably and fell from the sky. He crashed heavily to the ground, his complexion extremely pale. Nanling Province's Hong Yendu is a peak superior grade martial saint. He is quite famous in Nanling Province. Unexpectedly, he does not even have the strength to force Yichen back, someone below exclaimed in a soft voice. We three brothers want this dragon phoenix cauldron. Brat from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, get down. Three youths walked out from another passageway in the refinery. The three of them all used different weapons. The one in the middle had a sword at his waist, the one on the left had a large saber on his back, and the one on the right held a folding fan. These three are the heirs of the imperial capital's Luo clan. They are brothers. The Luo clan is very powerful in the imperial capital. It looks like they are determined to obtain this dragon phoenix cauldron. However, weren't the three of them chasing after Chu Chaoyan earlier? Why are they all back? Who knows? Let's just watch from the sidelines first. This Yichen must have used his full strength from the start. He must have exhausted a significant amount of essence. The three Luo clan brothers quickly walked forward. When they were 100 meters away from the dragon phoenix cauldron, the third brother of the Luo clan revealed a sinister smile. He said, I hate it when people look down on me from above. Scram down. After he spoke, he kicked the air at the 10-meter-tall dragon phoenix cauldron. A strong wind blew. The kick contained a horrifying force. In the blink of an eye, it landed on the cauldron. There was a dull sound in the refinery. Wang, wang, wang. The sound was deafening, reverberating in everyone's ears. The dragon phoenix cauldron trembled continuously. However, the three legs of the cauldron did not move at all. On the contrary, the third brother of the Luo clan felt his legs go numb from the rebound of his kick. He muttered, That's impossible. A casual kick of mine can even shatter a city wall. How can this lousy cauldron not move at all? When the third brother of the Luo clan saw Xiao Chun on the cauldron, he thought to himself, it must be this brat's doing. He said ferociously, Again. I don't believe I cannot kick you down. The third brother of the Luo clan shouted and spun his body 180 degrees. He kicked out with his leg, causing the air to tremble. Xiao Chun's expression suddenly changed. He raised his right leg and stomped heavily on the mouth of the cauldron. Rumble. The three legs of the dragon phoenix cauldron pierced into the ground of the refinery. In an instant it completely sank into the ground. A boundless force rose up from the ground. The shattered pieces of the floor soared into the air. They circled around the dragon phoenix cauldron and headed for the ceiling. The three Luo clan brothers had just rushed over. Before they could do anything, they were pulled into the air by the force from the ground. Bang! Xiao Chen's left hand, which was holding the scabbard, moved quickly. The tip of the scabbard pierced through countless rocks and struck this person's chest. The third son of the Luo clan vomited a mouthful of blood as his body flew through the air. His face was frighteningly pale. His internal organs had been severely injured. Old third. The Luo family's eldest brother and second brother cried out in alarm and caught the Luo family's third brother. They had never imagined that in just one move, he would be seriously injured by Xiao Chun. How dare you injure my third brother? No one can save you today. The two of them drew their weapons, and the wind blew under their feet. Their killing intent soared to the sky as they charged at Xiao Chun. Wukuei shakes the heavens. Xiao Chun could not be bothered to waste his time on this person. He immediately executed the killing move of the Wukuei saber technique. The ancient divine Wukuei tree grew rapidly in the air. Like a proud and aloof mountain, it contained the power of lightning and Xiao Chen's state of thunder as it descended from the sky. Bang! Before absolute power, the two of them could not resist at all. The towering tree landed on their heads and crashed down. The two of them were smashed into the rocks on the ground. The berserk lightning attributed essence rampaged through their bodies, throwing their essence into chaos. Xiao Chun easily defeated the three Luo clan brothers. This caused the crowd, who were originally prepared to take advantage of the situation, to be horrified. The 10-odd cultivators who had followed Xiao Chun to open up a path gave up on obtaining the dragon phoenix cauldron. Xiao Chun completely gave up on the idea of obtaining the dragon phoenix cauldron and retreated far away. On the other hand, People continuously came to challenge Xiao Chun at Du Hao's entrance. Xiao Chun did not show any fear. He held his saber in front of him as his long hair fluttered in the wind. He stood proudly on the cauldron and defeated all the people who came to challenge him. Xiao Chun stood on the dragon phoenix cauldron and held his saber with one hand. He looked coldly and emotionlessly at the various outstanding talents who were eyeing the dragon phoenix cauldron. Xiao Chun said softly, "I will say it again. You can all pick up the secret treasures on the ground. This dragon phoenix cauldron is mine." Of the 50-odd people who came to the Firely sect remnants, aside from the few who chased after Chu Changyan, the other 50-odd people had already gathered here. The dragon phoenix cauldron was a necessity for crafting secret treasures. The various outstanding talents here all had a huge faction behind them. If they grasped the method of crafting secret treasures, it would be a great help to their clan's strength. This cauldron was very important to them. This was also why these people charged at Xiao Chun one after another. Even though they were defeated one by one, they still refused to give up. It looks like I really have to start a massacre, Xiao Chun thought to himself. Originally, he planned to store the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron in his universe ring and activate the Windwalk shoes to leave this place. However, he discovered that he could not store the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron in his universe ring. This made Xiao Chun even more determined to take the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron away. Secret treasures could be stored in the universe ring. If it could not be stored, it could only mean that the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron also contained the power of space and rejected the space of the universe ring. Given this, it proved that although this Dragon Phoenix Cauldron was a fake, it still had value. The legend might very well be true. Damn it. Attack together. I don't believe that his essence is inexhaustible. After we kill him, we will decide who the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron belongs to. Hong Yandu, who was defeated by Xiao Chun earlier, said ruthlessly. Chapter 324. Someone had said the same thing before, and it had been very effective. At that time, most of the people had attacked immediately. However, after they saw Xiao Chun's strength this time, many people started to retreat. There were very few who responded. Xiao Chun's gaze was like lightning as he glared at Hong Yandu. If you want to kill me, I'll start with you first. Wuxia. Activating the Windwalk shoes, Xiao Chun leaped down from the cauldron. His speed instantly reached the speed of sound. He silently merged with the wind and arrived before Hong Yandu in an instant. Hong Yandu was startled and quickly retreated. However, Xiao Chun did not give him a chance to do so. He shouted and executed the roaming dragon's 9 transformations. 9 cool breezes blew and Xiao Chun's body split into 9, surrounding Hong Yandu. When the clear wind chop was executed, Xiao Chun's killing chi vanished completely. Hong Yandu looked up and saw Xiao Chun's figures everywhere. Furthermore, he could no longer find the lunar shadow saber in his hand. When the cool breeze blew, Hong Yandu did not feel any killing chi. Instead, he felt a sense of comfort. However, Hong Yandu felt like he had fallen into a deep abyss. Cold sweat flowed down his back continuously. There was clearly great danger, but Hong Yandu could not sense any killing chi. This feeling was too strange. It made his mind flustered, and he could not think of any countermeasures. Xiao Chun did not give Hong Yandu too much time to think. The instant the clear wind chop was executed, 9 figures quickly flew at Hong Yandu. Suddenly 9 ethereal saber lights lit up at the same time. It was like they had appeared from nowhere. The killing chi that had disappeared earlier now pressed over with a mountain-toppling force. Hong Yandu did his best and caught hold of 2 strands of saber chi. Then he quickly swung his sword to block. Wuxia. On his chest, a few strands of saber chi pierced through his protective essence, leaving behind a few horrifying wounds. He was injured by the saber chi. Hong Yandu's movements immediately slowed down. He could no longer block the 2 strands of saber chi that he had caught. Boom. When all 9 of Xiao Chun's figures merged together, 9 bloody holes appeared on Hong Yandu's chest. Blood spurted out of the holes, but Hong Yandu still maintained his sword stance. Hong Yandu's eyes were wide open as he fell down powerlessly. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The surroundings were silent. Those who had been tempted to make a move had completely stopped their thoughts. Hong Yandu had just shouted when he was killed by Xiao Chun. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Moreover, he had only used one move. This meant that Xiao Chen had been holding back earlier. Now he was no longer holding back. This was a warning to them not to act rashly. However, there were still a few bold people who wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to store the Dragon Phoenix cauldron in their spatial rings. However, they discovered that their spatial rings rejected it. They could not store it at all. The few of them hardened their hearts and worked together to lift the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. They prepared to move it out. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and flew up, sticking close to the ground. With the help of the windwalk shoes, he instantly arrived below the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. Xiao Chen kicked the cauldron, and the huge Dragon Phoenix cauldron left their hands, flying towards the ceiling above them. When the few of them saw the situation, they quickly leaped up, wanting to snatch the Dragon Phoenix cauldron back. Naturally, Xiao Chen would not give them this opportunity. Xiao Chen moved through the air like a soaring dragon. As he flew up and down, purple saber lights entangled the few of them. They could only give up on the Dragon Phoenix cauldron and deal with Xiao Chen's attacks first. Dang, dang, dang. The clanging of weapons resounded in the air. After a while, a few miserable cries rang out. The few people fighting over the Dragon Phoenix cauldron fell from the sky. Boom! The Dragon Phoenix cauldron that Xiao Chen kicked away actually broke through the ceiling. Large pieces of rock fell from above. Xiao Chen looked up and his eyes lit up. The ceiling actually broke through. I should make use of this opportunity to leave this place. Xiao Chen easily caught the falling Dragon Phoenix cauldron with one hand. Then, he controlled the two silver-armored warriors below to leap into the air. He gently touched the universe ring and sent the two combat puppets into it. Everything was ready. Just as Xiao Chen was preparing to ram into the Dragon Phoenix cauldron, Duan Muqing, Ji Chongkong, and the others arrived at the refinery. Dragon Phoenix cauldron. It is actually the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. In that case, leave it behind. Ji Chongkong and the others exclaimed in pleasant surprise when they saw the Dragon Phoenix cauldron in Xiao Chen's hands. The few of them leaped into the air and charged at Xiao Chen without hesitation. Xiao Chen's expression sank. The strength of these people was not something the cultivators from earlier could compare to. Every one of them had comprehended their own state. Their talent and cultivation were all demonic. They could be said to be geniuses among geniuses. No matter where they were in the Great Qin nation, they would be dragons and phoenixes among men. However, when Xiao Chen did not see Chu Chaoyan, he relaxed a little. Otherwise, he might really lose this Dragon Phoenix cauldron. The fierce flame in Xiao Chen's right eye started to burn continuously. When Xiao Chen saw the imposing auras of the few people, he shouted and a ferocious purple flame immediately spewed out. After that, Xiao Chen no longer cared about these things. The purple thunder true fire had not fully condensed and could not injure them. However, it would not be a problem to block them for a while. Xiao Chen controlled the Dragon Phoenix cauldron with his right hand and spun it around, smashing it violently against the ceiling. Bang! With the full force of the collision, the crack that appeared earlier immediately tore open. Xiao Chen grabbed the Dragon Phoenix cauldron and quickly squeezed his way out. After him. We cannot let him leave just like that. Chu Chaoyan already took away the secret manual for forging secret treasures. If this fellow takes away the Dragon Phoenix cauldron, we will not be able to obtain anything. The few of them used all sorts of methods to neutralize the purple flame. When they saw Xiao Chen making his way out, they quickly chased after him. The arrival of Duan Muqing and the others had completely dispelled the idea of fighting over the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. Even if they killed Xiao Chen, there were still people like Duan Muqing and Ji Chongkong, who were no weaker than Xiao Chen. To them, they still did not stand much of a chance. They might as well focus on the pile of secret treasures on the ground. If they could find a few complete secret treasures, they would have made a huge profit on this trip. Xiao Chen took out the map and discovered that he was only about a kilometer away from the main hall. Of course, that was only in a straight line. After Xiao Chen determined the direction, he raised the cauldron and prepared to charge forward in a straight line. Bang! 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 The high walls in front of Xiao Chen were easily smashed apart by Xiao Chen. Then he quickly advanced forward. The windwalk shoes continued to be activated. Xiaochen executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art to its limits and dodged the attacks of the people behind him. As he was holding the dragon phoenix cauldron, he could not shake them off. Yi Chun, quickly put down the dragon phoenix cauldron. Otherwise, even if you can walk out, the Duanmu clan's profound ice palace will not let you out. The dragon phoenix cauldron is useless to you. If you hand it over to us, we will definitely exchange it for something else. We will not let you suffer a loss. When the few of them saw Xiaochen able to run very fast while holding the dragon phoenix cauldron, they were astonished. The dragon phoenix cauldron was huge. It was at least 500 kilograms heavy. However, when Xiaochen lifted it, it was like a piece of wood. Not only was it very easy, but Xiaochen's speed did not decrease at all. Furthermore, he could easily dodge the attacks. When the few of them attacked, the group was forced to use psychological warfare. Xiaochen found it funny. He did not need the Duanmu clan's profound ice palace. He could leave the Ink Mountain range with his own strength. The dragon phoenix cauldron was very important to Xiaochen. Not only did it concern the refinement of secret treasures, but it also concerned the damaged secret treasures in his possession. If Xiaochen wanted to recover completely, he placed his hopes on this dragon phoenix cauldron. There was no reason for him to give it up. Xiaochen swallowed a qi returning pill and used the cauldron to smash another wall in front of him. Then he quickly leaped forward. After 7 or 8 minutes, not only did the people behind Xiaochen not close the distance, but they were even left behind by Xiaochen. With a heaven-ranked movement technique and the windwalk shoes, with Xiaochen's current speed, those of the same generation who had not learned a heaven-ranked movement technique would have to comprehend the state of wind to great perfection in order to catch up to him. Clearly, there was no such person behind Xiaochen. It was only a matter of time before he left them behind. After a while, Xiaochen could no longer hear the commotion behind him. He had already arrived at the ruined main hall. As long as he passed through the doors, Xiaochen would be able to leave this place safely. A faint smile could not help but appear on Xiaochen's face. However, the moment he walked out of the bronze doors, the smile on Xiaochen's face froze. A golden combat puppet stood at the exit in front. It held a golden sword in its hand, and stood on the ground with a monstrous aura. The aura that only a peak inferior grade martial king could have was radiating from its body. Beside the golden armored warrior was Chu Chaoyun, who wore alternating blue and white robes, and had a 2-meter-long sword on his back. He smiled at Xiaochen and said, "Take the initiative. Put down the dragon phoenix cauldron, and you can leave. I will give you 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones." Xiaochen slowly placed the dragon phoenix cauldron in his hand on the ground. He had not expected Chu Chaoyun to block the exit. This move was truly brilliant. There was only one path to the Firely Sect remnant. If one wanted to return to the Ink Forest, they had to pass through the passage under the profound ice flower. No matter who obtained the dragon phoenix cauldron, they would not be able to avoid passing through this place. After a series of battles and running, their essence would definitely be exhausted. Chu Chaoyun was waiting for his prey. He would be in his best condition to deal with a weakened opponent. This was a surefire opportunity. Chu Chaoyun muttered to himself for a while before continuing. "I already know how the Firely Sect refines secret treasures. Right now, we are only lacking the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron and the Lunar True Flame. I have my ways to obtain the Lunar True Flame. This Dragon Phoenix Cauldron is somewhat difficult to deal with. The original one has already disappeared. As for the number of fakes, including the one in your hands, there are already 3. When Xiaochen heard this, his eyes filled with doubt. He felt that Chu Chaoyun's understanding of the Firely Sect was a little too detailed. During the middle period of the Tianwu dynasty, the Firely Sect was destroyed by a mysterious power overnight. No one knew how the Firely Sect, which was at its peak, could be destroyed so easily. The Firely Sect became an unsolved mystery in the continent. What was even more strange was that a lot of information about the Firely Sect seemed to have been erased from the continent by a mysterious power. Now, what everyone knew about the Firely Sect was only passed down through word of mouth. There were only a few words about it. Xiaochen collected his thoughts and said indifferently, "Just give up. I will not hand the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron to you. I do not lack medial grade spirit stones. You are afraid that after Duanmuking and the others rush over, you will not have a chance, right? Chapter 325. One Chu Chaoyan was already very difficult for Xiaochen to deal with. Now, there was another golden-armored warrior with the combat prowess of a peak inferior grade martial king. It would be very difficult for Xiaochen to defeat the other party. However, using the two silver-armored warriors to delay for a while was not a problem. By the time Duanmuking and the others arrived, the fight for the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron would be full of variables. This would be disadvantageous to both of them. That was why Chu Chaoyan offered to give Xiaochen 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones to get him to leave. With a thought, the two silver-armored warriors in the universe ring shot out. Xiaochen took out the lunar shadow saber and slowly placed his right hand on the hilt. Xiaochen withdrew his aura, and his gaze became as sharp as a saber. Occasionally, a purple electric current would appear behind him, giving off a zzz sound. The state of thunder quickly brewed. The battle between the two would not be decided in a short time. The fight for the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron was now full of variables. Chu Chaoyan frowned heavily. His gaze was like lightning as he stared at Xiaochen. The holy weapon behind him trembled continuously. It seemed like it would give off a bright light in the next moment, illuminating the ground. Boom! In that instant, an intense golden light appeared in the empty space in front of the bronze doors. It illuminated the dark space, dazzling everyone's eyes. Amidst the golden light, an even more resplendent sword light tore through the obstruction of space and headed for Xiaochen. Unexpectedly, Chu Chaoyan comprehended the state of light. Xiaochen squinted his eyes and thought to himself. At the same time he reacted quickly. The instant the golden light lit up, Xiaochen drew his saber with his right hand. A flash of purple lightning appeared amidst the dazzling golden light. In an instant, a thunderous roar resounded in the open space. The thunder roared deafeningly. A large patch of purple electric light appeared behind Xiaochen, forcing the golden light back. The purple light and the thunder light faced off against each other. The state of thunder and state of light entangled with each other. Clang! While the states were locked in a stalemate, the two of them moved at the same time. Their speed was as fast as lightning. Their bodies crossed each other in the air, and their weapons clashed, creating a large amount of sparks. Clang, clang, clang. Their weapons retreated as soon as they came into contact with each other, pausing in the air for a moment. Then, the two of them suddenly turned around and each launched a fierce attack. Their swords and blades clashed like a storm. Sparks flew and energy flew everywhere. The scattered saber chi and sword chi left deep marks on the walls. As the two of them fought, the golden-armored warrior on the ground charged at Xiaochen with an imposing aura. With a thought, Xiaochen directed the two silver-armored warriors to block the golden-armored warrior. Every time Chu Chaoyan made a move, a dazzling golden light would be emitted, which made Xiaochen's eyes slightly uncomfortable. Xiaochen's eyes narrowed into slits. The saber contained a strong state of thunder. Countless sparks flickered on it, crackling endlessly. The instant the weapons clashed, the electric sparks flowed along his opponent's sword. Chu Chaoyan felt a slight pain. After a long time, his right hand, which was holding the sword, started to turn numb. Bang! 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 The two of them moved faster and faster. Soon only blurry shadows could be seen in the air. An intense shockwave surged around the two of them, forming small tornadoes. Actually, the two of them were not using their full power. There were too many variables at this moment. If they fought to the death, only Duanmuking and the others would be able to take advantage of the situation. Chu Chaoyan waited for the instant the golden light dazzled Xiaochen's eyes. Then he would make his move, using one move to defeat Xiaochen. That way he would be able to save a lot of energy. Xiaochen was waiting for his opponent's right hand to turn completely numb and lose its grip on the sword. Then he would send his opponent's weapon flying. That way he would be able to escape. The golden light and the electric light clashed continuously. Dull explosions resounded. The two of them persisted bitterly, not wanting to give way. They just wanted to see who would fall first. Dong! 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 Just at this moment, heavy footsteps came from the main hall. Chu Chaoyan glanced around and saw that Duanmuking and the others had arrived. Xiao! Chu Chaoyun withdrew his sword and quickly retreated. The golden light in the empty space immediately vanished, and the state of light disappeared. You can go. I will leave the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron with you for now. Naturally, I will go and retrieve it one day. Help me take care of it, Chu Chaoyun said casually as he made way for Xiaochun. Xiaochun scattered the state of thunder and landed in front of the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. He used one hand and easily lifted the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron above his head. When Xiaochun passed by Chu Chaoyun, he said softly, "There has never been a precedent of losing something that landed in my hands." It was the same with the Golden Spirit Core in the past and the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron now. Chu Chaoyun watched as Xiaochun left. He shook his head slightly and said in a voice that only he could hear, "After not seeing you for a year, you have become so strong. The growth of the Blue Dragon martial spirit probably far exceeds that person's expectations." Chu Chaoyun, where's Yichen? Wasn't he fighting with you earlier? Why is he gone all of a sudden? Hua Yunfei asked anxiously as he rushed over. Chu Chaoyun said indifferently, "Sorry, I let him go." Seeing that Chu Chaoyun did not care at all, Hua Yunfei became anxious. He immediately drew his scarlet sword and pointed it at Chu Chaoyun. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and the golden-armored warrior took 2 steps forward unhurriedly. Seeing the silent golden-armored warrior, Hua Yunfei did not have the courage to draw his sword. He snorted coldly and sheathed his sword. Ji Chongkong looked at the exit of the Firely sect. Suddenly he said something irrelevant. "Don't you feel that he is very similar to someone else? Although his appearance is different and his aura is much weaker, his eyes and sharpness are very similar." Right after he said that, Duan Muqing, Hua Yunfei, and the Guyi Marquis exchanged glances with each other. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. The Guyi Marquis said indifferently, "In that case, let's write down this person's surname at the same time and see if our guesses are the same." The few of them stretched out their hands and started to write the word Xiao in the air. After they finished writing, they revealed expressions of shock. Hua Yunfeng said coldly, "If we all think there is a problem at the same time, then that might be the result. However, it seems like there is no such realistic disguise technique in this world. It is not as simple as changing one's appearance. Instead, one's internal bones and external aura are completely different." In the past, Xiaochun had a grave and stern appearance. His face looked like it was carved by a knife. His entire person was like a treasured saber drawn from its scabbard, releasing his aura and showing off his sharpness. However, the Xiaochun they saw now had a delicate and ordinary appearance. His sharpness was withdrawn and he did not give off a flamboyant feeling. He was a completely different person. The Guyi Marquis continued, "The most important thing is that I do not believe this person's strength could improve so quickly. 1 year ago he was only a superior grade martial master. Now he is a medial grade martial saint. Unless he cultivates a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. However, within the Great Qin nation, only the royal court has a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. How could a nameless person like him have one?" Ji Chongkong glanced at the silent Chu Chaoyun and said, "Chu Chaoyun, you have fought with him before. What do you think?" Chu Chaoyun smiled gently and said, "Is it really that important whether it is or not? 2 years from now, there will naturally be people looking for you. Don't tell me you are afraid. Haha." 3 days later, in an extremely desolate area at the periphery of the Ink Forest, Xiaochun sat cross-legged on the ground. The Dragon Phoenix Cauldron was not far from him. 2 silver-armored warriors guarded the cauldron, one on the left and one on the right. Bai sat quietly on top of the cauldron. Occasionally his intelligent eyes would look around, helping Xiaochun to avoid unknown dangers. After a long time, Xiaochun stopped circulating his energy and opened his eyes. 2 beams of light flashed in the depths of his eyes as he took a deep breath. This breath was long and drawn out, like a long sharp arrow. Even after it flew far away, it did not dissipate. Xiaochun smiled faintly and stood up. He picked up the lunar shadow saber beside him and walked over to the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. Bai landed on Xiaochun's shoulder with a so sound. The Dragon Phoenix Cauldron was 16 meters tall. The 3 pillars were 10 meters long, and the cauldron itself was 6 meters long. When Xiaochun stood below it, he seemed very small. Xiaochen leaped up gently and executed the gravity spell. He slowly flew to the top of the cauldron and looked down. The cauldron was squarish and empty. It was only about 5 meters deep. Xiaochen could clearly see the bottom with one glance. However, it gave off a feeling of boundlessness. It was like there was a small world inside. After leaving the fiery sect remnant, Xiaochen was not in a rush to leave the ink forest. The Duanmu clan's profound ice palace was still guarding the exit of the forest. Thinking about how terrifying the profound ice palace was, Xiaochen was not foolish enough to walk right into their trap. For the next 3 days, he hid in this ink forest. As he killed demonic beasts, he recovered his strength. Xiaochen handed the dragon phoenix cauldron to the 2 silver-armored warriors. This did not affect his pace. When he was resting and meditating, Bai would help guard it. In the ink forest where Xiaochen's spiritual sense could not extend too far, the normally unimportant Bai was very useful. After resolving his worries, this ink forest, where the spiritual energy was thin and the demonic beasts were ferocious, was the best place for Xiaochen to temper himself. Xiaochen was not in a rush to leave. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiaochen looked at the empty cauldron. He flicked his finger and shot out a strand of purple flame. The flame spun around the cauldron and immediately became very thin, turning into tiny sparks. Xiaochen flicked his finger and shot out tens of strands of purple thunder true fire in one go. This exhausted a quarter of his essence. However, the flame was still very thin. It could not fill the space inside. Xiaochen frowned slightly and said doubtfully, "This is strange. There is clearly only so much space. Logically speaking, my flame should have risen up long ago." In the past 3 days, whenever Xiaochen had free time, he would study the dragon phoenix cauldron. However, he did not make any progress. He only knew that there were many moonstones in the cauldron. The entire cauldron was made of peak-grade frost iron. It was even harder than a heaven-ranked spirit weapon. Furthermore, the space inside seemed to be much larger than it looked. This was the result of Xiaochen's verification. There should be spatial formation markings carved on it. With a flip of his palm, Xiaochen gathered all the flames in the dragon phoenix cauldron. A clump of fierce purple flame immediately soared up in his palm. Chapter 326. Boom. Xiaochen casually waved his hand in front of him. The flames left a long trail of purple flames in the air. Everywhere it passed, the trees in its way were burned to ashes. After the flames flew for 1,000 meters, they crashed into the ground and gave off a loud sound. A purple mushroom cloud soared up from the ground. Roar! Roar! The loud sound immediately startled the surrounding demonic beasts. 3 black-winged demonic wolves with black smoke around them let out roars and charged over in an overbearing manner. The black-winged demonic wolves were originally rank 5 spirit beasts, winged wolves. Aside from their large bodies, they had 2 bone wings on their backs that allowed them to fly at low altitudes, increasing their speed. After they demonized, their offensive power and speed increased. Their overall combat prowess doubled, making them even more ferocious and terrifying. Xiaochen looked at the 2 black-winged demonic wolves and smiled faintly. He took a step forward and landed on the mouth of the dragon phoenix cauldron. Then he placed his right hand on his saber hilt. Wuxia. The bone wings on the backs of the 2 black-winged demonic wolves flapped heavily. There was a gust of wind in the air, and the 2 black-winged demonic wolves quickly flew up. They opened their huge jaws, revealing their black fangs that flickered with a cold light. The bone wings flapped in the air, making a woo-woo sound as they launched themselves at Xiaochen. Who? Before Xiaochen could move, Bai, who was on his shoulder, immediately jumped down. He rubbed his palms and sent out a whirlwind. He immediately blew one of the black-winged demonic wolves into the air. The black-winged demonic wolf came quickly and left even faster. It tumbled on the ground for a few meters before coming to a stop. Just as it got up, it saw a white figure rushing at it. Chi-chi. The white figure was like a beam of light. In a flash, 5 bloody wounds appeared on the left wing of the black-winged demonic wolf. Black smoke came out of it. Xiaochen glanced at it and ignored it. He had already found out in the past few days that Bai was much stronger than he had imagined. He did not feel any pressure when facing a peak rank 5 demonic beast alone. He could use his advantage in speed to deal with it easily. The mysterious 9 Heavenly Revolution transformation was an immortal-grade cultivation technique for fiends. It allowed Bai's strength to increase at a horrifying rate. Gotcha! With a flash of lightning, Xiaochen quickly drew the snow-white lunar shadow saber with his right hand, which was on the saber hilt. Xiaochen leaped down, and his saber light flashed as he chopped off the bone wings of the other black-winged demonic wolf. The black-winged demonic wolf howled in pain as it stood up. Its 5 sharp claws shot out with a so sound. Each of his fingernails was 20 centimeters long, and there were hooks on his fingertips. They were like 5 sharp knives in his flesh. They cut through the air, and went for Xiaochen's head at lightning speed. Even steel would have 5 holes in it, let alone a human's head. Xiaochen's expression didn't change. He leaned his body slightly, and took a step back with his right foot. Xiaochen's gaze was like lightning as he stared at the wolf claws glinting with a cold light. Then he raised the scabbard in his left hand. Dang! The tip of the scabbard struck the palm of the wolf claw. The huge impact caused a small bloody hole to appear in the tough palm. Unexpectedly, it did not pierce through. The defense of this wolf claw is pretty good, Xiaochen thought to himself. In that case, let's add another layer of force. Bang! A force came from Xiaochen's left arm, and he pushed it forward. The tip of the scabbard immediately pierced through the tough wolf claw. In pain, the other claw of the black-winged demonic wolf moved at an even faster speed towards Xiaochen. The force was so strong that it split the air in half. The black-winged demonic wolf was fast, but Xiaochen was even faster. The lunar shadow saber lit up with a resplendent purple light. As the light flickered, he chopped off the entire wolf claw. Bang! Xiaochen kicked heavily at the chest of the black-winged demonic wolf. The huge body of the black-winged demonic wolf immediately flew backward. Kasie! 10,000 kilograms of force broke several of the ribs in the black-winged demonic wolf's chest. The sound of bones breaking rang out continuously. The black-winged demonic wolf was merely a superior-grade rank 5 demonic beast. Before Xiaochen comprehended a state, he could already defeat it. After he comprehended a state, and infused it with holy might, his strength increased greatly. Dealing with it became much easier. Now, a demonic beast of this level was barely enough to deal with Xiaochen. The ones that could truly put pressure on Xiaochen were rank 6 demonic beasts. In the past few days, Xiaochen had been targeting rank 6 demonic beasts. The black-winged demonic wolf still wanted to struggle to its feet. However, Xiaochen lost his patience and swung the lunar shadow saber. The blade flickered with a crackling electric light. It was like an extremely strong bolt of lightning. With a loud boom, it stabbed into the chest of the black-winged demonic wolf. The state of thunder contained in the saber exploded. The huge body of the black-winged demonic wolf was charred by the electric light. Xiaochen casually waved his hand, and the lunar shadow saber returned to his hand. After the lunar shadow saber returned to Xiaochen's hand, an invisible strand of red light flew out of the black-winged demonic wolf's corpse and entered the throne mark on Xiaochen's forehead. The red light contained the black-winged demonic wolf's state of massacre. The scarlet throne mark flashed with a red light, and this strand of red light containing the state of massacre immediately entered the scarlet throne in Xiaochen's sea of consciousness. The red clouds below the throne started to churn slowly. After a while they stopped, as though they were not satisfied yet. Xiaochen did not find this strange. For the past 3 days, the Scarlet Throne would absorb the state of massacre of all the demonic beasts that he killed. The stronger the demonic beast, the more red light would fly out. At first, Xiaochen was worried that the state of massacre from back then would reappear. However, he slowly discovered that the state of massacre accumulated in the throne was relatively small. Compared to the overwhelming state of massacre from back then, it was much weaker. The most important thing was that Xiaochen discovered that he could control this state of massacre. With a thought, the state of massacre contained in the throne would infuse into his saber technique. This was equivalent to Xiaochen obtaining another state, the state of massacre, out of nowhere. There were only benefits and no drawbacks. Compared to the state of wind, state of mountain, and state of light, this ethereal state of massacre was much harder to comprehend. As far as Xiaochen knew, even in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, the Divine Saber Camp, which practiced the Tao of Massacre, Only a few of the older generation experts truly comprehended the state of massacre. However, the state of massacre contained in the Scarlet Throne was simply too little. When Xiaoqin used it, the effects were not obvious. It was dispensable. However, its rate of growth was extremely terrifying. As long as it killed powerful life forms, it would continue to accumulate. It could be foreseen that it would eventually reach a horrifying level. The Scarlet Throne was a secret treasure refined by the ancient Evil King. The Evil King was a peak expert that could rival the Ice Empress. The secret treasure he refined was definitely not simple. Unfortunately, someone had torn out all the information about the Scarlet Throne from that book. Hence, no one knew what the Scarlet Throne's secrets were. Yeah. Bai's inarticulate voice interrupted Xiaoqin's thoughts. Xiaoqin lowered his head to look at him. Xiaoqin saw Bai waving his arms and legs, trying to claim credit. The black-winged demonic wolf was lying on the ground, riddled with injuries. It could not move at all. It was on its last breath. Xiaoqin smiled faintly. He knew what Bai wanted. He took out a gourd filled with wine and handed it over. Bai cheered and revealed a cute smile. He received the gourd and leaped onto the cauldron. Xiaoqin dealt the final blow to the black-winged demonic wolf on its last breath. An invisible red light immediately flew out from the corpse and entered the Scarlet Throne in Xiaoqin's sea of consciousness. Xiaoqin took out the demonic cores of the two black-winged demonic wolves and turned his head to look at Bai, who was happily drinking wine. He smiled helplessly. After giving the two silver-armored warriors the order to kill any creature that approached the Dragon Phoenix cauldron, Xiaoqin prepared to walk forward alone. With the two silver-armored warriors guarding the cauldron, Xiaoqin would be able to sense the slightest movement. Furthermore, with Bai at the side, there would not be any major problems with the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. Bai, stay here and help me look after the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. Don't run around, okay? Xiaoqin said softly to Bai. Bai put down the gourd filled with wine. Her little face was flushed red. She looked very cute. She clenched her fist tightly and patted her chest, squeaking non-stop. Xiaoqin understood what she meant. This little fellow said that she would complete the mission. Whoever came would be smashed to death with the gourd. Smiling faintly, Xiaoqin rubbed Bai's head. Then he grasped the lunar shadow saber in his hand tightly and turned to leave this place. Rank 5 demonic beasts could no longer pique Xiaoqin's interest. Only rank 6 demonic beasts were worth making a move. If Xiaoqin wanted to find rank 6 demonic beasts, naturally, he had to go deeper. The closer he got to the core area, the higher the chances of meeting a rank 6 demonic beast. Within the dark ink forest shrouded in black smoke, Xiaoqin held his saber and cautiously advanced forward step by step. The ink forest was known as the danger zone for demonic beasts. This was no joke. With every step he took, he had to be on guard against demonic beasts pouncing at him from all directions. It could be the ground, the sky, the mutated beasts hidden in the air, or even the trees behind him. They could all open their mouths wide and swallow him up when he was careless. It created a tremendous amount of pressure on one's mental state, causing one's heartstrings to be constantly strung taut. Those who did not have a strong will would have their minds broken down before their bodies, even collapse due to their paranoia. Xiaoqin maintained his calm. Along the way, he encountered attacks from various demonic beasts. However, they were all rank 5 demonic beasts. Xiaoqin was not in the mood to fight. After scaring them away, he could not be bothered with them anymore. If he really could not scare them away, he would temporarily avoid them. With his full speed, it would be hard for a rank 5 demonic beast to keep up with him. 10 minutes later, Xiaoqin suddenly stopped and looked around. It was empty and quiet, as if even the air had stopped flowing. Xiaoqin suddenly had an uncomfortable feeling in his heart. It was as if he had encountered something unclean and felt disgusted. Being stared at, Xiaoqin calmed himself down and got rid of this uncomfortable feeling. There must be a powerful demonic beast hiding in the dark. The other party had treated him as prey, and his concealment skills were superb. Even with his full perception, Xiaoqin couldn't even tell where the other party was. Chapter 327. Maintaining his vigilance, Xiaoqin placed his right hand on the saber hilt. His gaze started to wander around, searching for the hidden demonic beast. Time seemed to stop. Xiao Chen remained motionless as he held his saber hilt. The state of thunder brewed continuously, waiting for the moment his opponent appeared to strike. However, time passed slowly. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, soon half an hour had passed. The anticipated enemy still did not appear. This was an extremely crafty demonic beast. It knew how to wear down its prey's will, putting a lot of pressure on its opponent. Too much time passed. For an instant, Xiao Chen even doubted his senses. Did I make a mistake? Was the so-called hidden demonic beast just me overthinking? There was no demonic beast at all. Xiao Chen wanted to scatter the state of thunder that he had been brewing for a long time. However, the instant his mental state wavered, the scarlet throne between his eyebrows released a bright red light. This caused Xiao Chen to give up on this idea. As the evil king's secret treasure, the scarlet throne would not give a warning for no reason. My senses are definitely correct, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Xiao Chen's eyes regained their calm. The scarlet throne in his sea of consciousness immediately stopped moving. Since they wanted to compete in patience, then let's see who could not wait any longer. Who? After a long time, a cool breeze suddenly blew. It picked up a few leaves on the ground and flew them toward Xiao Chen. Unable to endure any longer, is this a psychological battle? Xiao Chen smiled coldly to himself. He did not feel any killing qi in the cool breeze. So he ignored the few leaves that flew over. Who? After a long time, for cool breezes blew from the ground. They picked up a large number of leaves and blew them toward Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's heart was as calm as still water. His gaze remained incomparably calm. His right hand, which was on the saber hilt, did not move. He continued to ignore them. Following that, a few cool breezes blew occasionally, trying to disrupt Xiao Chen's thoughts and the state of thunder that he had been brewing. Xiao Chen ignored it. He didn't sense any killing intent. If he acted rashly, he would only make his thunderous strike miss. The surroundings suddenly became silent. The cool breeze that had been harassing Xiao Chen all this time no longer appeared. That strange silence once again descended upon this space. Xiao Chen said indifferently in his heart, "It's coming." Boom. An incomparably violent whirlwind suddenly surged up from the flat ground. The gale roared angrily and swept up all the fallen leaves on the ground. The falling leaves obscured Xiao Chen's vision and covered the sky. A terrifying and ruthless aura was hidden in the wind as it swept towards Xiao Chen. Rumble. The state of thunder that Xiao Chen had been brewing for a long time erupted at this moment. A bolt of purple lightning descended from the sky like a javelin, piercing through the 9 heavens and tearing apart the sky as it fell to the ground. A long crack immediately appeared in the falling leaves that covered the sky, revealing the mastermind hidden behind the scenes. Through the crack in the fallen leaves, Xiao Chen saw a huge 4-legged snake whose skin color changed continuously. There was a huge crown on the snake's head, and its eyes were deep red. The snake's skin changed color continuously. Sometimes it was the yellow of the fallen leaves, and sometimes it was the transparent color of the air. It was faintly discernible, looking very strange. However, what surprised Xiao Chen the most was not this. It was actually a snake demonic beast with a crown on its head. A snake growing a crown would take at least 700 years. It would take at least 700 years. Xiao Chen was very clear on what 700 years or more meant. The scarlet crown snake that he met in the underground world was very horrifying. Xiao Chen clearly remembered how horrifying it was. With just one tail strike, it had shattered the silver warship into pieces. If the scarlet crown snake turned into a demonic beast, its strength would more than double. The crack in the fallen leaves that was blasted open by the lightning started to close up slowly. The figure of the scarlet crown snake slowly disappeared from Xiao Chen's vision. Cassier. The instant the crack in the fallen leaves closed up completely, Xiao Chen immediately drew the lunar shadow saber in his hand. A strong wind blew, scattering all the fallen leaves in the air. Countless arcs of electricity moved about in the air, striking the fallen leaves and giving off a crackling sound. In an instant, all the scattered leaves were smashed into powder. The hidden scarlet crown snake was completely exposed. Xiao Chen shouted and locked his killing qi on the other party. Then he leaped into the air. Xiao Chen brandished his saber and executed a lightning-quick strike. Wuxia shakes the heavens. The ancient divine Wuxia tree appeared from nowhere and grew rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it became lush with leaves, covering the sky. It was like a lone peak as it smashed down with the force of thunder. The 100-meter-long crowned snake was as thick as a water bucket. When it saw the divine Wuxia tree descending on its head, its scarlet eyes released a scarlet glow. It opened its mouth, and the surrounding temperature plummeted. A cold light appeared in its mouth. After a while, the cold light exploded and a sharp ice pillar shot out. Chi. When the ice pillar came in contact with the Wuxia tree, frost immediately appeared on the surface of the Wuxia tree. The Wuxia tree, which was filled with the berserk power of thunder, was actually frozen solid from the inside out. Xiao Chen's eyes were filled with astonishment. He said, "How can this be?" The Wuxia saber technique is a sure-kill martial technique. Unexpectedly, it was broken in such a way. When two kinds of energy clashed, if neither side had absolute strength, there would be an intense explosion. There was only one possibility for such an effect. The other party's ice-attributed energy far surpassed the lightning-attributed energy that Xiao Chen could unleash. Regardless of quality or quantity, it completely surpassed Xiao Chen. Otherwise, the Wuxia tree would have had a chance to explode. This four-legged crowned snake has lived for at least 1,000 years, Xiao Chen thought in horror. It is already a spirit, yet it is so crafty and patient. Kasie. The frozen Wuxia tree started to crack continuously. It shattered into pieces of ice and fell to the ground. Thunderclouds churned continuously in the sky. Xiao Chen looked at the four-legged crowned snake as it flicked its forked tongue in and out. Xiao Chen grasped his saber hilt with both hands and focused. He had never been so nervous before. Xiao Chen had great strength and a crafty and cautious character. This was a peak rank 6 demonic beast that had lived for 1,000 years. It was even stronger than the Scarlet Flame Chief that he met earlier. Boom. Just as Xiao Chen was hesitating on whether to retreat or not, the scarlet throne mark on his forehead flickered with a scarlet light. The scarlet throne flew out of nowhere. Before Xiao Chen could react, the strip of cloth on his forehead tore into countless pieces. A scarlet cloud soared into the sky. Above the scarlet cloud, Xiao Chen had unknowingly sat on the scarlet throne. The instant the strip of cloth tore, Xiao Chen's originally delicate and ordinary aura instantly turned strange. His skin was as white as snow, and the scarlet throne mark on his forehead. When he looked at Xiao Chen, he felt like he was unable to extricate himself from this gaze. Of course, Xiao Chen did not know about all this. He used his foot to step on the scarlet cloud. The scarlet cloud seemed solid. When he stepped on it, it was like he was walking on flat ground. The appearance of the scarlet throne surprised Xiao Chen. He did not know what it was trying to do. Just as Xiao Chen was feeling confused, the scarlet throne under him started to slowly seep into his flesh. Soon, a viscous scarlet liquid covered Xiao Chen's skin, forming a scarlet battle armor. The battle armor covered Xiao Chen's entire body. It even formed a scarlet helmet on his head, covering all the vital points. The strangest thing was that the insides of the battle armor were tightly connected to the cells in Xiao Chen's skin. It was like it was made of flesh and blood. The four-legged crowned snake's thick limbs stood on the ground. Its scarlet eyes flickered with uncertainty. When the four-legged crowned snake saw Xiao Chen on the scarlet cloud, its skin started to change color, merging with the air. However, without the cover of the fallen leaves, when Xiao Chen looked carefully, he could see a blurry silhouette slowly moving around him. When the battle armor that the scarlet throne had turned into appeared, Xiao Chen felt that his defense had increased by more than 50%. Furthermore, his strength and speed had also increased. It was like his entire body had an inexhaustible amount of energy. His overall combat prowess had increased by 50%. The secret treasure refined by the ancient evil king is truly unfathomable. However, with the help of this battle armor, my chances of defeating this 1,000-year-old crowned snake should increase by 50%. Xiao Chen completely dispelled any thoughts of retreating. Now that he had a 50% chance of victory, he should go all out. Xiao Chen shouted and leaped down from the scarlet cloud. Then he quickly rushed towards the blurry silhouette on the ground. Uchi! A huge wind blade appeared out of nowhere. The incomparably sharp wind blade sliced the air in half. It sounded like a piece of cloth being torn apart. What a fellow! He actually grasped two attributes at the same time. Xiaochen pushed off the ground with his feet, and an explosive force shot out. In an instant, his body soared more than 100 meters before he landed on a large tree. In the time that Xiaochen took to leave, the afterimage he left on the ground was shattered by the wind blade before it could scatter. The berserk wind blade's momentum did not diminish. It chopped a large tree behind him in half. The cut of the tree was as smooth as a mirror. It was enough to show how condensed and pure the wind blades were. After flying for a distance of 1,000 meters, the wind blades finally stopped moving. In the blink of an eye, the huge wind blade arrived at Xiaochen's feet and slowly dissipated. Finally, it turned into a berserk wind that carried countless fallen leaves into the distance. Before Xiaochen could feel astonished, a strand of frost quickly spread out from the tree below him. In the blink of an eye, it arrived at Xiaochen's feet. Startled, Xiaochen quickly jumped down. The moment he landed, a wind blade appeared out of nowhere. It accurately calculated Xiaochen's position. Xiaochen somersaulted miserably in the air and landed on the ground. Before he could get up, the boundless frost on the ground gave off cold qi. It formed a circle and quickly moved towards Xiaochen. When Xiaochen looked around, the cold qi created an icy fog on the ground. It covered an area of more than a kilometer around him, not giving him any place to stand. How hateful! Helpless, Xiaochen could only leap into the air to prevent the cold qi from binding him. Boom! The instant the cold qi gathered, the surrounding temperature dropped by several hundred degrees. A huge pillar of ice shot up from where Xiaochen stood earlier, heading in the direction that he had jumped. Chapter 328. The four-legged crowned snake launched a series of attacks. It did not give Xiaochen any time to react. It had everything within its grasp. The attacks were closely linked. It wanted to force Xiaochen into a dead end, not giving him any chance to attack. What a crafty 1,000-year-old demonic beast. When Xiaochen saw the ice pillar rushing at him, he thought to himself, I can't retreat anymore. Otherwise, the danger I face will only increase. Qi breaks Wuxia. Xiaochen shouted and the dark clouds above churned continuously. A bolt of lightning tore through the darkness, causing Xiaochen's aura to soar. A strand of dense purple saber qi appeared from nowhere. Xiaochen was unaware of it. The remnant state of massacre in the scarlet battle armor quickly merged into the saber technique. Kasi. The power of the qi breaks Wuxia shocked Xiaochen. It actually easily broke the ice pillar soaring into the sky in half. After merging the state of massacre, Xiaochen's spirit of Wuxia was like a treasure saber that had been reforged. The sharpness of the saber had increased by 50%. When Xiaochen saw the two halves of the ice pillar shattering in the air, a boundless killing intent soared in his heart. Xiaochen's gaze was like a weapon filled with killing qi. Everywhere his gaze passed, the killing intent seemed solid, causing one's heart to tremble in fear. Kill! Wuxia shakes the heavens. Xiaochen shouted and executed Wuxia breaks the heavens again. A purple divine Wuxia tree appeared from nowhere. The state of massacre in the battle armor instantly merged into it. Xiaochen saw countless meridians flowing in the interior of the towering tree. They looked like blood vessels. After a while, countless scarlet Wuxia flowers bloomed on the lush tree. The towering tree immediately turned sinister and horrifying, looking very strange. The surrounding cold qi gathered in the four-legged crowned snake's sinister mouth once again. An ice pillar condensed with a cold light struck the roots of the divine Wuxia tree again. Endless cold air began to spread from the bottom of the tree to the top of the tree trunk. But this time, the cold qi was unable to penetrate the inside of the tree of God. There was no way to completely freeze the Wuxia tree. The state of massacre would not allow the ice to break into the Wuxia tree. Kacha. After a while, the surface of the Wuxia tree, which was covered in ice, slowly cracked. Pieces of shattered ice fell off. However, the Wuxia tree, which contained the force of lightning, was still in perfect condition as it pressed down violently. Boom! The divine tree descended, bringing with it the unceasing power of thunder and lightning. It ruthlessly pressed down on the blurry silhouette in the sky. The huge four-legged crowned snake let out a pained roar. Its body completely appeared in Xiao Chen's field of vision, its skin covered in flickering lightning. The murderous intent contained in the lightning easily tore through the layers of ice defenses that the crowned snake had set up as though they were tofu. In an instant, the four-legged crowned snake's defenses crumbled. It used its physical body to take on Xiao Chen's move head-on. Its scales exploded and countless black blood droplets seeped out of its skin. Faint electric light could still be seen flickering in the wounds. It looked like states were also divided into grades. The state of massacre was clearly stronger than the state of thunder. However, the fusion of the state of massacre was much easier than the fusion of other states. Xiao Chen was able to easily infuse the state of thunder. Did this mean that the fusion of states of different styles was easier than the fusion of states of the same style? For example, the fusion of the state of wind and the state of cloud, or the state of mountain and the state of cloud were energy-based states. Merging them was very difficult. However, it was easier to merge the state of massacre and energy-based states. However, it would be much more difficult to merge them with the states of destruction, life and nature, which were similar to the state of massacre. It looked like the knowledge and methods involved in states were much more complicated than Xiao Chen had imagined. However, this opened a new door for Xiao Chen's thinking. These thoughts flashed in Xiao Chen's mind, but he did not think too deeply about them. At this moment, he was still in the middle of a battle of life and death. It was clearly not the time to think about this problem. It would be better to think about it after the battle. Under the pain, the four-legged crowned snake let out an angry roar, its forked tongue flicking in and out continuously. Wuxia! A red light flashed. The four-legged crowned snake's red tongue was like a bolt of lightning. It was so fast that one's thoughts could not keep up with its speed. Xiao Chen's heart tightened, and he quickly dodged to the side. However, that tongue was simply too fast. The long red snake pierced through his heart when it was only 10 centimeters away. A heart-wrenching pain spread through every inch of Xiao Chen's nerves. The enraged Xiao Chen swung his saber and chopped at the tongue that was trying to retract. Then he ruthlessly cut off a large chunk of it. The intense pain disrupted the circulation of Xiao Chen's essence. The gravity spell immediately scattered, and Xiao Chen's body fell heavily to the ground. Just as Xiao Chen was about to fall to the ground, the red cloud in the distance flew over and caught him firmly. Xiao Chen could not be bothered with shock or pain. He pulled out the long red tongue that had pierced through his body. A horrifying hole immediately appeared on his chest, and blood gushed out. ZZ. The red battle armor suddenly wriggled, and the terrifying hole quickly healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it healed completely. The wound was healed. However, Xiao Chen clearly felt a lot of his life force drain away. This startled Xiao Chen. Unexpectedly, this throne can forcefully use my life force to treat my injuries. Life force was the equivalent of a person's lifespan. The life force that was used to treat Xiao Chen had reduced his lifespan by more than a year. Xiao Chen shook his head and suppressed these thoughts. He jumped down from the red cloud and activated the windwalk shoes. Then he fought the four-legged crowned snake continuously. With the aid of the state of massacre, Xiao Chen was able to hold his own against the four-legged crowned snake. Sometimes, after Xiao Chen broke his opponent's attack, the electric light would even leave wounds on his opponent's body. One man and one beast started an intense battle in the forest. A strong wind howled, lightning flashed, and ice spread everywhere. The battlefield grew larger and larger. When the surrounding trees were struck by the shockwaves of the battle, they immediately turned into countless splinters, dancing in the strong wind. Bang! 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 The four-legged crowned snake's cold chi froze the soil on the ground. It became very brittle. When a leaf fell on it, it would explode and kick up a cloud of dust. Wuxia blossoms. Xiao Chen grabbed hold of an opportunity and executed the Wuxia blossoms. The state of massacre infused into the Wuxia blossoms produced a scarlet Wuxia flower, wrapping Xiao Chen within it. Bang! 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 The four-legged crowned snake sensed the might of this move. It spat out sharp wind blades and ice arrows, continuously striking the surface of the scarlet Wuxia flower. Within the flower bud, Xiao Chen's internal organs were shaken. His chi and blood surged, and blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth. However, Xiaochen endured it and continued to circulate his essence through his meridians. He focused on executing the Wuxia blossoms. Boom! The scarlet flower suddenly bloomed. Scarlet petals bloomed in the air. Xiaochen pushed off the ground and countless scarlet lights fell from the petals. When they landed on his body, his speed reached Mach 3. As the petals filled the air, Xiaochen's saber strike was extremely beautiful. It was like a beam of light flashing by. A huge bloody hole appeared at the four-legged crown snake's weak point. The berserk energy of the lunar shadow saber poured out wildly. Bang! Just as Xiaochen stabilized himself, the four-legged crown snake's huge tail swept across the air. It sent Xiaochen flying, causing him to vomit a mouthful of blood. There was no panic on Xiaochen's pained face. He quickly formed hand seals with his left hand and shouted, "Wuxia supporting the heavens." The scarlet petals filled the air and formed a scarlet river in the air. They flowed through the four-legged crown snake's wound and quickly entered its body. After a while, a scarlet Wuxia tree grew wildly at the four-legged crown snake's weak point. Countless roots extended into its body, firmly taking root. The divine Wuxia tree absorbed the life force of the four-legged crown snake, turning it into its own nourishment. In the blink of an eye, the divine Wuxia tree covered the sky and covered the sun. Countless branches sprouted out, producing scarlet Wuxia flowers. They were very beautiful, looking very beautiful. Xiaochen pushed off the scarlet cloud with his feet, and his body rose up quickly. The unending thunderclouds in the sky churned continuously. A divine tree started to slowly grow above Xiaochen's head. He muttered to himself, "I'll use this move to end this battle." Wuxia breaks the heavens. The instant the divine tree grew completely, an earth-shattering scarlet bolt of lightning streaked across the sky. The lunar shadow saber in Xiaochen's hand released a resplendent scarlet saber light. The scarlet beam of light quickly elongated. The four-legged crown snake, which was rooted to the ground by the Wuxia tree and unable to move, revealed an expression of horror and despair in its scarlet eyes. Die. Suddenly, a scarlet light flashed on the four-legged crown snake's body. After the scarlet light faded for a long time, the huge body of the four-legged crown snake split in half. It was split into two halves from the middle. Endless black blood rained down from the sky along with its shattered internal organs. After executing Wuxia breaks the heavens, the scarlet battle armor on Xiaochen's body immediately separated from his flesh. Then it slowly wriggled and turned into a scarlet light before returning to his sea of consciousness. Then it turned into a scarlet throne. In the end, the state of massacre contained in it was too little. Xiaochen had already exhausted it. Pooh! Xiaochen landed on the ground, exhausted. He immediately lay down. The battle with the 1,000-year-old demonic beast was too tiring. Furthermore, using the state of massacre had a strong side effect. Even now, Xiaochen's head was still very dizzy. It was not time to rest yet. Xiaochen braced himself and quickly got up. He walked over to the four-legged crown snake's corpse. Huchi! Huchi! Balls of red light, invisible to the naked eye, quickly flew towards the throne mark on Xiaochen's forehead. Chapter 329. That was at least 100 more than the rank 5 demonic beast. However, when he thought about it, it made sense. The longer it lived, the more it killed. In Xiaochen's sea of consciousness, the Scarlet Throne greedily absorbed the intent of massacre. Eventually, because there was too much red light, it could not help but tremble. As the Scarlet Throne trembled, Xiaochen's fatigued body felt an indescribable carefree feeling. It made his body and mind feel much better. Xiaochen infused his spiritual sense into the Scarlet Throne. In the small world inside, a golden deity floated high in the sky. That was the spiritual mark that Xiaochen left in there. Underground, the once boundless sea of blood was now dry and narrow. All that was left was a 5-meter-wide scarlet puddle. This was the result of absorbing the rank 6,000-year-old demonic snake. Previously, there were only a few drops of scarlet liquid. It was even more pitiful. Take it slow, Xiaochen was not in a rush. He withdrew his spiritual sense and focused his gaze on the demonic snake's corpse. There were many treasures waiting for him to collect. Xiaochen extracted the four-legged crown snake's demonic core and took out a sharp knife. Then he started to cut off the demonic snake scales. These scales could change color freely. They were top-grade materials for refining magic treasures. There was also the snake gallbladder, the forelegs, and the crown on its head. They were all good stuff. After tidying up everything, Xiaochen found a big tree and started to circulate his energy to recover his essence. After a fierce battle, Xiaochen had expended too much energy and sustained significant internal injuries. This was especially so for the final swing of the demonic snake's tail. There was an estimated 25,000 kilograms of force that Xiaochen had to endure. If it were not for the scarlet battle armor increasing his defense by 50% and his high recovery rate, that swing would have shattered all his internal organs. Xiaochen took out a medial-grade spirit stone and slowly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. The endless pure spiritual energy in the medial-grade spirit stone poured into the qi whirlpool in his dantian. The liquid in the purple qi whirlpool started to drip slowly. After 12 hours, the essence liquid in the qi whirlpool was finally filled. Xiaochen quickly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation to nourish his damaged internal organs. After another half a day, Xiaochen finally cleared all the repercussions of this battle. She opened her eyes, and a purple light flashed through them. Her bewitchingly beautiful and fair face regained its color, and was no longer deathly pale. Anyone who looked at her would easily be captivated. Xiaochen got up and looked at the gray sky. Then he resumed his journey of killing rank 6 demonic beasts and witnessed the might of the state of massacre. Xiaochen became even more interested in killing strong demonic beasts. He had to collect more demonic beasts to strengthen his state of massacre. Just like that, Xiaochen stayed at the periphery of the ink forest for 2 days before he returned to where Xiaobai and the silver-armored warrior were. In 2 days, 12 demonic spirit world demonic beast, Chen List Xiaochen 1 beast the 2 1 2 1 1 1 1 and 1, and 1 1 1 1 1, and 1 1 1. If Xiaochen continued fighting, he would no longer be cultivating. Instead, he would be destroying his future. The body was the foundation of everything. There were no changes to the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron, or the 2 silver-armored warriors. There were no signs of demonic beasts in these 2 days. However, when Xiaochen looked around and did not see Bai, he felt it was strange. The spirit blood jade senses told him that Bai was within 10 meters of him. How could he not see him? Xiaochen leaped up gently and arrived at the mouth of the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. When he looked down, he finally saw Bai. Xiaochen only saw Bai jumping around continuously. However, the cauldron was only 6 meters tall. It could not jump up no matter what. Rongrong's cute face was filled with doubt. She kept scratching her head. She could not figure this out. Xiaochen smiled faintly and looked at the bottle gourd that had fallen to the side. He immediately guessed what had happened. The little fellow must have gotten drunk on the mouth of the cauldron and fell in. The internal space of the cauldron was definitely lined with spatial formations. It was a small world of its own. Even if Xiaochen fell in, he would have to put in a lot of effort to get out. How could Bai jump out? When Bai saw Xiaochen on the mouth of the cauldron, he immediately revealed a look of joy. He looked pitifully at Xiaochen. Xiaochen smiled faintly and the spirit blood jade on his chest flashed with light, sucking in Bai. Iya! Iya! Bai came out of the spirit blood jade and pointed at the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron as it cried out in Xiaochen's embrace. The gist of it was that this cauldron was very horrifying, very bad, very scary. Xiaochen smiled and scolded. Let's see if you still dare to drink in the future. Since you like to drink so much, you should know the consequences of getting drunk. You even said you would help me protect this cauldron. In the end, you can't even protect yourself. Xiaochen put down the injured Bai and landed on the ground. Then, he casually found a tree that he could chop down with his saber. After that, he took out a carving knife and quickly carved out a lifelike flying bird. Then, he gently blew on the wood shavings on it, making the carving look even more realistic. It looks like my carving skills have not fallen behind. I wonder if Yingyu is satisfied with the carving I gave her? Xiaochen smiled gently before withdrawing his smile. He said in a deep voice, "Life bestowal spell." The wooden bird immediately came to life. Under Xiaochen's control, it flapped its wings and flew up. After circling around, it quickly flew towards the exit of the ink forest. As long as it was not a wooden carving for combat, there were no requirements for the materials. Xiaochen only wanted to use this bird to scout ahead. So there was no need to use the spiritual wood. In this forest, spiritual sense was greatly restricted. However, the life bestowal spell was not as restricted. After an hour, the wooden bird passed through the long dark tunnel and saw the scene outside. The majestic profound ice palace was still in its original spot. There were many cultivators standing guard at the entrance. It looked like they had not given up yet. Xiaochen left a mark on the wooden bird and stopped it on the wall. He muttered, "It has already been 5 days." Unexpectedly, this group of people did not leave. However, if you want to compete in patience with me, I'm afraid you will be disappointed. Time passed day by day. Xiaochen hunted demonic beasts during the day and cultivated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art at night. The spiritual energy here was very sparse. It was not suitable for cultivating the purple thunder divine incantation. Hence, Xiaochen could only cultivate body tempering cultivation techniques. Coincidentally, the dragon and tiger body sculpting art was just a little short of small perfection. He might as well make use of this opportunity to make a breakthrough. Clearly, Xiaochen was not in a rush. Half a month later, Xiaochen suddenly shouted. All the bones in his body crackled continuously. A drawn-out aura rushed to the sky and scattered the lingering black smoke. The dragon and tiger body sculpting art's fourth layer, dragon tendon tiger bone, had reached small perfection. Xiaochen leaped up and arrived before the dragon phoenix cauldron. Then he casually punched. Bang! The dragon phoenix cauldron gave off a muffled sound. The cauldron trembled as it flew forward. All the trees in its way were smashed into pieces. After a long time, the cauldron landed heavily on the ground. The 3 cauldron pillars sank 1 meter into the ground. Xiaochen withdrew his fist and said softly, "After small perfection, my strength increased by 5,000 kilograms of force. There are still 2 more great perfection and peak great perfection. After that, this dragon and tiger body sculpting art will reach consummation. At that time, a casual punch from me should have 25,000 kilograms of force. A full power strike should be 50,000 kilograms of force. I should be able to open the remaining 3 acupoints on my right arm." A joyful expression appeared on Xiaochen's face. His heart was filled with anticipation. After that, he used the life bestowal spell to check the situation outside. He discovered that the huge profound ice palace of the Duanmu clan had already disappeared. It has been almost half a month. It looks like they can no longer hold on. It is time for me to go. Xiaochen withdrew his spiritual sense and smiled faintly. Afraid of an ambush, Xiaochen used the life bestowal spell to fly out. He circled the area once before he confirmed that everyone had left. Xiaochen did not linger any longer. He instructed the silver-armored warriors to carry the dragon phoenix cauldron, and quickly left this underground forest, returning to the mountain range. Although the air in the mountain range was still turbid, it was much better than underground. Xiaochen took a deep breath and felt his chest relax. The sky above the Ink Mountain range was filled with fatal danger. Xiaochen did not dare to use the Scarlet Throne or the Silver Warship to fly over. The rank 7 demonic beasts that filled the sky would tear him to shreds. Xiaochen could only obediently kill his way back from the ground. He would treat it as experiential training. Since ancient times, the strong had tempered themselves. Xiaochen laughed loudly. He held the lunar shadow saber and walked forward in a heroic manner. Half a month later, at an exit of the Ink Mountain range, a youth wearing alternating blue and white robes with a blue strip of cloth tied to his forehead slowly walked out. A spirit fox sat on his shoulder, and a sword hung at his waist. This person was Xiaochen. He looked somewhat fatigued, but the light in his eyes still flickered. His sharpness was still present. Xiaochen raised his foot and stepped out. When he saw the sunlight that he had not seen for a month, he narrowed his eyes and smiled faintly. "I'm finally out. Today, I realized how wonderful fresh air and sunlight are." Including the ink forest, Xiaochen had cultivated bitterly for a month. The state of massacre that the Scarlet Throne had collected had turned into a deep pool of spring water. It was 10 times more than before. Of course, it was still incomparable to the vast sea it was at the beginning. The bigger gain was that Xiao Chen's reactions had become sharper due to the high-intensity battles he had experienced over a long period of time. His usage of martial techniques had become more flexible. The number of demonic cores, in addition to the ones he left in the subspace of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, reached a horrifying number. Xiao Chen counted them. There were more than 1,500 rank 4 demonic cores, 1,000 rank 5 demonic cores, and 700 rank 6 demonic cores. This was a huge sum of wealth. If he exchanged them for spirit stones, he would definitely be able to get at least 2,000 medial grade spirit stones. It might even be more. With Xiao Chen's current cultivation speed, he would consume 1 medial grade spirit stone a day. 2,000 medial grade spirit stones would be enough for him to use for 6 years. Even if Xiao Chen's cultivation realm increased and the consumption increased, it would still be more than enough to last him for 2 years. With the remaining 5,000-odd medial grade spirit stones, Xiao Chen could buy whatever he wanted. However, when Xiao Chen saw the 2 silver-armored warriors carrying the Dragon Phoenix cauldron behind him, he frowned slightly. He could not think of how to deal with this. He could not store the Dragon Phoenix cauldron in the universe ring. It was so huge. If he placed it somewhere else, it would be very eye-catching. Chapter 330. Xiao Chen muttered to himself for a while before saying, "It looks like I can only place it in a more reputable pawn shop. I remember that the Merchant Association of Feng Feishue's clan runs a pawn shop as well. How about I place it there?" Wuxia. With a thought, the Scarlet Throne flew out on a scarlet cloud. This place was still within Dongming Province. The silver warship was rather eye-catching. Xiao Chen was afraid of being recognized, so he could only use the Scarlet Throne. The silver-armored warrior carried the Dragon Phoenix cauldron and slowly walked to the red cloud. The red cloud was incredibly soft, like it was solid. There was no need to worry about falling. Sitting on the throne, Xiao Chen operated the throne with all his might. He quickly soared into the sky, heading for Dongming Province's capital. One night, 2 days later, Xiao Chen landed silently outside Dongming City. He first entered the city and obtained a large box to store the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. Then he headed for the city again. Bringing a large box into the city in the middle of the night would inevitably attract the attention of the city guards. However, ordinary people would not be able to make out anything special about the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. So there was no need to worry about the city guards discovering anything. Xiao Chen calmly opened the box. After he showed it to the city guards, he entered the city without a hitch. Xiao Chen was not in a rush to go to the pawn shop. Instead, he found an inn and asked for a good room. Then he took a good bath. After washing away the fatigue from the past month, he fell into a deep sleep. The next day, after asking the waiter for the location of the Feng clan pawn shop, Xiao Chen carried a large box and rushed over silently in the middle of the night. The name of the pawn shop was Victorious Leader. It was already closed in the middle of the night. Azure steps extended to the door. There were 2 fire phoenixes carved on the door. This was the symbol of the Feng Clan Merchant Association. As long as a shop had this symbol carved on it, it would be considered a property of the Feng clan. As Xiao Chen slowly walked up the steps, he immediately felt a few strong auras lock onto him. These auras scanned his body continuously, trying to see through him. Dongming City was one of the 4 great cities in the world. The pawn shop that the Feng clan placed here would definitely have a lot of business. It was no surprise that it was heavily guarded. Clang clang clang. Holding the wooden box, Xiao Chen calmly walked to the door and lightly knocked on the knocker. "Who is it? It's the middle of the night, and you don't let me sleep. You're here to pawn things." A shop assistant opened the door and said with sleepy eyes, "Victorious Chief Pawn Shop. We don't do business at night. Come back tomorrow." After he finished speaking, he was about to close the door again. Xiao Chen held the box with one hand and blocked the door with the other. He smiled gently and said, "You don't even want to do a big deal?" The waiter laughed and said, "Big business? How big?" Xiao Chen smiled and didn't say anything. He directly pushed the door open. The waiter couldn't resist this force and quickly retreated. He seemed very angry. Xiao Chen loosened his grip, and the wooden box landed on the ground with a thud. The huge weight of the dragon phoenix cauldron caused the ground to tremble. The waiter was startled, he was astonished. He did not expect such a heavy item. To think that this youth in front of him could easily lift it up with one hand. The waiter, who was about to chase Xiaochen away, turned serious. He no longer felt sleepy as he said, "Young hero, are you pawning something or storing it?" "Storing it," Xiaochen said simply. "I'm also selling something at the same time." The waiter smiled bitterly and said, "However, our appraisers are already asleep. It is not convenient to wake them up at this time." Xiaochen casually looked around the hall before sitting on a chair by the wall. He took out a medial-grade spirit stone from the universe ring and smiled faintly. "Is this fine now?" The waiter looked at the medial-grade spirit stone on the table. A greedy look flashed in his eyes. Even a waiter of the Feng clan's pawnshop had good eyes. Naturally, the waiter recognized what this was. A medial-grade spirit stone. If it was exchanged for gold, it would be enough for him to live a luxurious life for most of his life. The waiter grabbed the medial-grade spirit stone and smiled. Yes, no problem at all. I will call our master over now." The waiter immediately took out a medial-grade spirit stone. "It looks like this is a big deal. If I wake the master up, I will not have to fear him scolding me." Xiaochen looked at the waiter's back and felt a slight heartache. This time, he could only spend a lot. There were many people here during the day. It would be hard to avoid news of this place leaking out. It was worth it to spend an extra medial-grade spirit stone. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, there was the sound of footsteps coming from the back of the hall. The waiter from earlier led an old man over, looking travel-worn. The old man wore long gray robes and walked with steady steps. His eyes gleamed and his chi and blood were vigorous. He did not look old at all. When the old man arrived before Xiaochen, he performed a cupped fist salute and smiled. "My family name is Huang. I am the chief appraiser of the victorious chief pawnshop. I have yet to ask for young hero's name." There were not many people who could take out a medial-grade spirit stone as a tip. While they were speaking, the old man carefully sized up Xiaochen. He was already a medial-grade martial saint at such a young age. However, this was not strange. Such a youth could be considered an outstanding talent. However, there were many of them everywhere. However, the old man felt a dangerous aura from this person. The old man had already become a peak inferior grade martial king long ago. However, he was too engrossed in appraising antiques, which delayed his cultivation. This youth is not simple, the old man concluded in his heart. Xiaochen performed a cupped fist salute and smiled. "I do not dare to claim my name. You can just call me Yichen. Could I trouble Master Huang to help me take a look at this item? I would like to store it in your shop for a period of time." The rules of the pawnshop were that the value of the item was determined. As for how to appraise the value and rank of the item, it depended on the appraiser's eyesight and knowledge. Xiaochen had brought the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron here, because he wanted to use this opportunity to appraise it. He wanted to see if he could obtain any useful information from the other party. Master Huang nodded slightly. Xiaochen flicked his hand and sent out 4 strands of energy. The box immediately opened, revealing the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. The dragon and phoenix carved on the cauldron looked very lifelike. One dragon and one phoenix chased each other. The cauldron gave off an ancient and heavy aura. The Dragon Phoenix Cauldron in front of Master Huang was instantly stunned. His expression froze and he was tongue-tied. He was so shocked that he could not speak properly. Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. It really is one of the 3 replicas of the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. Why is it with you? When Xiaochen saw the old man's expression change, he thought to himself, "It looks like there's a chance." Xiaochen stood up and asked, "Old sir, do you recognize this cauldron?" Master Huang recovered his wits and knew he had lost his composure. He smiled apologetically. The original Dragon Phoenix Cauldron disappeared long ago. There are only 3 replicas left. The Feng clan has been searching for this cauldron for thousands of years. I did not expect it to appear in little brother's hands. Xiaochen's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that the Feng clan has already grasped the method of refining secret treasures? Everything is ready except for this cauldron. Young hero Yichen, may this old man be bold enough to ask if you are willing to sell this cauldron? If you are, the Feng clan will be able to bear any price? Master Huang turned around and asked softly. Naturally, Xiaochen had no intention of selling the Dragon Phoenix cauldron that he had spent so much effort to obtain. He shook his head and rejected. I'm sorry, I will only store it and not sell it. Old sir, what do you know about this cauldron? Can you tell this junior about it? A strange look flashed in Master Huang's eyes. He smiled gently. I only recognize this cauldron. How would I know anything about it? Young Hero Yi is too kind. Xiaochen's gaze was like lightning as he took in the old man's expression. He knew that this old man was purposely not saying anything, so he could not be bothered with him. He said, Never mind, since old sir is not willing to say, then state a price. I intend to store this cauldron here for a year. Master Huang thought for a while before saying, 50,000 inferior grade spirit stones. What do you think? Perhaps there is another way. You can lend this cauldron to our Feng clan. You can come and collect it at any time. If that's the case, not only will we not need your spirit stones, we will even give you 100,000 inferior grade spirit stones every year. Xiaochen thought for a long time. After a while, he made a decision in his heart. He said, Sure, but I want to discuss this with your young master personally. Xiaochen had his own considerations. Although he had the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron and the Lunar True Flame, he did not know the exact method. If he kept them, he would need a long time to figure out the method. Xiaochen might as well hand the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron over to Feng Feixue and exchange it for the method to refine secret treasures. After that, he would let her use the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron for a period of time. This could be considered as repaying her some favors. The most important thing was that Xiaochen really wanted to see her. After returning to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Xiaochen had a premonition that he would be leaving the Great Qin Nation soon. After Xiaochen agreed to Feng Feixue's promise, he did not see her come looking for him. However, she did get Princess Yin Yu to look for him once. However, she did not explain things clearly. After leaving the Great Qin Nation, Xiaochen did not know when he would return. He might as well take this opportunity to have a good chat with Feng Feixue. When Master Huang heard Xiaochen's words, he was slightly taken aback. He said with some embarrassment, Young Hero Yi, the Feng family has a big business, and the Shenkue pawn shop is just a small place. It's really a bit abrupt to invite Miss Feng here. Besides, I can make the decision to borrow the cauldron. Indeed, the Feng clan had shops all over the continent. Although the Dragon Phoenix cauldron was important, there was no need to get Feng Feixue over. Furthermore, Feng Feixue had been running around the continent for the Feng clan's business for a long time. Aside from some specific days, she did not have a fixed residence. It would be difficult to invite her with Master Huang's status. Master Huang explained the difficulties to Xiaochen. Xiaochen thought for a while and said, In that case, never mind. I will leave this Dragon Phoenix cauldron here. If you can make an appointment with Feng Feixue, then come and talk to me about lending it to you. When Master Huang heard this, his expression could not help but change. He felt that it was a great pity. Just as he was about to ask Xiaochen to stay, he suddenly thought of something. His face filled with a smile again. He asked in anticipation, Young Hero Yi, may I ask if you are the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Qinyan Peaks Yi-chun? Xiaochen felt it was strange. He nodded and took out his identity token to prove his identity. He asked, What's wrong? Does Master Huang recognize me? Master Huang smiled and said, There is no need to ask young Master Yi about this. If you trust me, you can leave the Dragon Phoenix cauldron here first. Come back tomorrow at midnight, and you will be able to see Miss Feng. Chapter 331. This is really strange. Xiaochen did not know that he had such great influence. Since that was the case, he would come back tomorrow. There was no need to worry about leaving the Dragon Phoenix cauldron here. However, there was another matter that could be settled now. Xiaochen said, It is settled then. I still have some demonic cores with me. I wonder if Old Huang can help me appraise them and do some business? Old Huang smiled and said, That is easy. Do you want to pawn them or sell them? Sell them. After Xiaochen spoke, he poured out 3 large piles of demonic cores from his universe ring. The largest pile was rank 4 demonic cores, the smallest was rank 5, and the smallest was rank 6. The smile on Old Huang's face immediately froze. He was speechless. This was the so-called demonic core. A rough count gave him more than 3,000 demonic cores. With such a large number, the victorious chief pawnshop's annual business was probably only this much. The waiter at the side was completely dumbfounded. He thought to himself, fortunately, I did not say anything to offend this person. When he thought about how he had been prepared to mock this person, he felt that he was really lucky. Xiao Chen said, Old Huang, what's wrong? Is the number too large? Old Huang recovered his wits and sighed. It's not large at all. I will call the other appraisers. We will definitely give young Master Yi a specific number within an hour. Xiao Chen smiled and said, There is no rush. It does not matter if I wait a little longer. After an hour, Old Huang walked over tiredly. He took out a stack of papers and said to Xiao Chen, Young Master Yi, the attributes of every demonic core have been appraised. All of them have a specific price tag. Take a look and see if there is anything you would like to add. Xiao Chen received the stack of papers and looked at them carefully. He discovered that it was indeed as Old Huang said. Not only were the attributes of the demonic cores listed, even the corresponding demonic beasts were listed. Furthermore, the accuracy was almost 100%. Every demonic core had a valuation. Furthermore, the reason for the valuation was stated in detail. The appraiser of the victorious chief pawnshop was not simple at all. This was an eye-opener for Xiao Chen, overturning some of Xiao Chen's original concepts. For example, the demonic core of an inferior rank 4 demonic beast was valued even higher than a superior rank 5 demonic core. The reason was that the Heavenly Craft Manor had developed a new spirit weapon, and was in urgent need of such demonic cores. There were many similar cases. The value of a demon core was not simply determined by its rank. This gave Xiao Chen some inspiration. Finally, Xiao Chen took a look at the total. All the demonic cores added together could be sold for 450,000 inferior grade spirit stones. When Xiao Chen saw the inferior grade spirit stones, he frowned slightly. Honestly speaking, he did not have much use for inferior grade spirit stones. Right now, he could only use them as currency. There was no use for ordinary cultivation. At most, it could be used to quickly recover essence when one's essence was slightly depleted. If Xiao Chen depleted too much, he could only use medial grade spirit stones. One medial grade spirit stone would not be enough. When Old Huang saw that something was wrong with Xiao Chen's expression, he asked in a probing manner, Young Master Yi, are you not satisfied with the price? Xiao Chen shook his head and said, No, 450,000 inferior grade spirit stones is already a very high price. However, I was wondering if I could exchange it for medial grade spirit stones. When Old Huang heard this, he muttered in a low voice, It is not impossible. However, young Master Yi needs to think this through. Although inferior grade spirit stones are no longer of much help to cultivators above medial grade martial saint, they are still the basic currency of the continent. There will not be any devaluation. What Old Huang said was not wrong. The auctions held in Shiha City also used inferior grade spirit stones as the starting point. There should not be any major changes in other places. Old Huang continued, If you use inferior grade spirit stones to exchange for medial grade spirit stones, you will be at a great disadvantage. Young Master Yi should think this through carefully before making a decision. Old Huang continued, If you use inferior grade spirit stones to exchange for medial grade spirit stones, you will be at a great disadvantage. Young Master Yi should think this through carefully before making a decision. At the auction in Shiha City, Xiao Chen had suffered such a disadvantage. For the sake of purchasing secret treasures, he had no choice but to use medial grade spirit stones to exchange for inferior grade spirit stones. If he had prepared a sufficient amount of inferior grade spirit stones in advance, such a situation would not have happened. However, Xiao Chen had an urgent need for medial grade spirit stones. He felt that they would be of great use in the future. Now that he had the opportunity, he had to exchange them for medial grade spirit stones. Xiao Chen asked, Name a number. How many medial-grade spirit stones can these 450,000 inferior-grade spirit stones be exchanged for? Old Huang replied straightforwardly. At most 3,000. This is a discounted price on the account that you are acquainted with Miss Feng. One medial-grade spirit stone could be exchanged for 100 inferior-grade spirit stones. If it was inferior-grade spirit stones for medial-grade spirit stones, or 200 inferior-grade spirit stones for one medial-grade spirit stone, one would be laughing up their sleeves. Hence, the price given by Old Huang was indeed a discounted price. Furthermore, it was much more than what Xiaochen had expected. Xiaochen put down the white paper that introduced the demonic core. He smiled and said, "In that case, many thanks to Old Huang." 3,000 medial-grade spirit stones was a very large sum. Xiaochen had to go through many procedures before he could truly obtain it. Xiaochen waited for another 4 hours before he finally managed to obtain all 3,000 medial-grade spirit stones. In addition to the 5,000-odd medial-grade spirit stones in the universe ring, Xiaochen now had a total of 8,000 medial-grade spirit stones. This was a horrifying amount of wealth. Xiaochen was more or less done with what he needed to do. All that was left was to wait until he saw Feng Feishue tomorrow. When Xiaochen pushed open the doors of the victorious chief pawnshop, the sky in the east was already turning bright. The light of dawn was about to break through the shackles of darkness. There were already some people on the streets. However, most of them were ordinary people doing business in the early days. There were no signs of cultivators. Xiaochen revealed a calm smile as he slowly walked to the inn he came from. His pace was neither fast nor slow. When he heard the various shouts of the ordinary people around him, his state of mind slowly calmed down. When Xiaochen arrived at the entrance of the inn, the light of dawn finally matched the night sky. A red sun appeared. Xiaochen stopped and looked up. The rising sun was as red as a pillar. However, it was not too hot. Only at this moment could an ordinary person look directly at the sun. Xiaochen entered deep thought. He was like this fiery morning sun. His future was bright, but he might not be able to truly emit the light of the blazing sun. However, it was filled with unknown factors. Since ancient times, there had been countless geniuses who died prematurely when the sun just rose, falling completely. The road ahead would be bumpy. He had to be careful. Just as Xiaochen was deep in thought, the waiter opened the doors of the inn. Xiaochen collected his thoughts and walked in under the waiter's astonished gaze. Strange, didn't this person not go out last night? Why did he come in again this morning? The waiter muttered as he looked at Xiaochen's back. After returning to his own room, Xiaochen washed up and went straight to his bed to cultivate. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation had remained in the 5th layer for a long time. After the 3rd layer, it became increasingly difficult to cultivate the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. However, with every layer, there would be a qualitative change in his strength. When he broke through to the 3rd layer, the Purple Thunder True Fire became the Origin Flame. When he broke through to the 4th layer, the might of the Purple Thunder True Fire increased by another level. The origin of thunder contained in it became purer and more condensed. Xiaochen did not know what kind of surprise he would receive when he broke through to the 5th layer. He hoped that when the time came, the amount and might of the Purple Thunder True Fire would improve by another level. Xiaochen cultivated all the way until dusk. Then he slowly opened his eyes and withdrew his palm. He gathered all the purple electricity in the air, due to his cultivation, into his right hand, forming a ball of blazing purple flame. The purple flame slowly seeped into his palm, and entered his body through the meridians in his arm. Finally, it gathered at the origin flame in his right eye. After not eating for a day, Xiaochen felt hungry. He prepared to go downstairs and have a feast. Dusk was always the most crowded and bustling time in any inn or restaurant. Xiaochen waited for a long time on the 2nd floor, before he found an empty table by the window. Have you heard? Something big happened in Dongming province. It could be said to have shaken the entire Great Qin nation. While waiting for the food to be served, the discussions of some cultivators reached Xiaochen's ears. Another person laughed. Haha, how big can it be? Is it even more shocking than Xiaochen's battle with the noble clans a year ago? Xiaochen, that's all in the past. That person hasn't appeared for a year. I'm guessing that with the large families chasing after him, he's either left Great Qin, or is hiding in the wilderness, hiding his identity. In the current Great Qin nation there is no place for him to stay. Dongming Province, the royal courts, Shihe Province, and Nanling Province are all hunting him down. That's true. Tell us, what happened? Someone asked with great interest. That's true. The person who spoke first took a sip of wine and said, a month ago, Duanmuking gathered the outstanding talents of the various lands. I believe you all know about this. According to reliable sources, they gathered for a dragon phoenix cauldron left behind by the Firely sect. Furthermore, they actually found this cauldron. In the end, a nameless brat from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion defeated the outstanding talents of the various lands and snatched the cauldron back. Is that true? The Dragon Phoenix cauldron is a legendary item. To think it actually appeared. The others exclaimed in astonishment. When Xiaochen heard this, he frowned slightly. He thought to himself, it looks like the Dragon Phoenix cauldron is a hot potato. I will probably feel some pressure when I return to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Those people continued to chat, but Xiaochen had no interest in listening. After he finished his meal, he returned to his room to cultivate. Time passed very quickly as Xiaochen cultivated. When Xiaochen opened his eyes again, the sky had already turned dark. He opened the window and looked out. It was very dark outside. There were very few people walking on the streets. Xiaochen held his lunar shadow saber and silently leaped out, heading for the victorious chief pawnshop. He remembered that the last time he met Feng Feixue was in Dongming City as well. It seemed like the two of them had a special fate in Dongming City. Xiaochen executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art with all his might. In a short while, he arrived at the victorious chief pawnshop again. This time, it was different from last night. There was no strong aura staring at him. The moment Xiaochen walked up the bronze steps, the doors opened. Old Huang smiled from behind the doors. Young Master Yi, please follow me. Miss Feng has been waiting for a long time. Xiaochen nodded gently and followed Old Huang to the guest room on the top floor of the victorious chief pawnshop. When they arrived at the door, Old Huang tactfully left. Chapter 332. After calming himself down, Xiaochen gently pushed open the door. The instant the door opened, he immediately saw Feng Feixue, dressed in men's clothing, holding a folding fan in her hand. She seemed to be the same as before, without any changes. Her aura was the same as before. Her fine black hair was tied up, and the men's clothing made her pretty face look very different. She was elegant, and her aura was outstanding. After sensing for a while, Xiaochen discovered that Feng Feixue's cultivation was still at peak superior grade martial saint. This surprised him. Feng Feixue had a gentle smile on her face. When Xiaochen was sizing her up, she also carefully observed Xiaochen. When Feng Feixue saw Xiaochen again, she felt that his aura was even more reserved. Furthermore, there was an additional aura that she could not understand, making him seem somewhat mysterious. The two of them came to the table and sat across from each other. Feng Feixue picked up the teacups on the table and poured a cup of tea for Xiaochen. She smiled softly and said, "It has been a long time. Your strength has increased again. Congratulations." Xiaochen received the teacup and took a sip. Then he continued the topic. "You are the one that shocked me. After running around the continent, your cultivation is still higher than mine." Feng Feixue smiled faintly and poured herself a cup of tea. Then she changed the topic. "This is the first time you are in such a rush to look for me. I rushed over from the imperial capital overnight. Is something the matter?" There were too many things Xiaochen wanted to ask Feng Feixue. Now that she was in front of him, he did not know where to start. Xiaochen put down the teacup and organized his thoughts before saying, "I might have to leave the Great Qin nation soon. A few months ago, you asked you to bring me to the imperial capital. Can you tell me why? If I can help you, I will do my best. However, if I leave the Great Qin nation, I might not be able to return for some time." Feng Feixue smiled faintly and felt warmth in her heart. She did not expect that when Xiaochen was preparing to leave the Great Qin nation, he would still remember the promise he made to her. Indeed, with your strength, it would be good for you to go out and train. However, you do not have to worry about my promise. Even if you are at the ends of the earth, I will find you immediately, Feng Feishue said softly. It looked like Feng Feishue was still unwilling to tell him her secret. So be it, Xiaochen did not force her. He continued asking, Cousin Yulan, how are things in the Heavenly Qin School? When Feng Feishue heard Xiao Yulan's name, a complicated expression flashed in her eyes. She said, she received your flowing light flower and is currently cultivating with all her might. She is very strict with herself, and the talent she displayed is extremely high. Currently, one of the seniors in the Heavenly Qin School has already accepted her as a disciple. Hearing that the other party was fine, Xiaochen relaxed slightly. The two of them chatted for a long time before Xiaochen mentioned the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. Feng Feishue hesitated for a while before saying apologetically, the Feng clan does indeed have a method to refine secret treasures. However, only the clan head knows such a top-notch secret. I do not know it myself. This caused Xiaochen to be somewhat surprised. However, when he thought about it, it was indeed so. If a clan really grasped the method to refine secret treasures, then the strength of the clan would definitely soar. Such an important secret was usually held in the hands of the clan head. Otherwise, if it was leaked, the consequences would be dire. As for whether there were other reasons, or if Feng Feishue had her own difficulties, Xiaochen did not care. He did not like to force others. Furthermore, Feng Feishue had already helped him enough. Just the heaven-ranked movement technique, the blue dragon cloud soaring art, had saved his life several times at crucial moments. It was more valuable than a priceless treasure. What else was there to ask for? Feng Feishue said, I am really sorry about this. However, when you hand the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron over to the Feng clan, I can pay you daily. 10 medial-grade spirit stones every day, until you take the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. Xiaochen waved his hand and said, please don't say that. Just treat it as if it's in your Feng clan. To me it would be a hot potato. To Xiaochen this was indeed the case. If he could store it in his universe ring, it would be fine. However, if he could not, it would be very inconvenient. The two of them chatted for a long time. Feng Feishue told Xiaochen about the experts she saw in the various countries, and the strange martial techniques. This broadened Xiaochen's horizons, causing him to look forward to it. In the end, just as they were about to leave, Xiaochen could not help but ask a question in his heart. He said, Feng Feishue, actually I have always wanted to ask, why are you so good to me? The first time they met, she gave him a blue dragon medicine cauldron. The second time they met, she invited him to enter the Heavenly Qin School. The third time they met, she gave him a heaven-ranked martial technique. After that, he created a great calamity. She helped him take care of the Xiao clan, resolving his worries. After that, she asked you to invite him to join the Imperial Dragon Legion. She wanted to help him recover his true body and live a normal life. All of this was a great favor. Feng Feishue helped him without any conditions, causing him to feel an indescribable sense of doubt. In this world, there was no such thing as love without reason, nor was there any such thing as hatred without reason. Someone must have planted the seed of karma. Feng Feishue's pretty face was slightly stunned. However, she was not too shocked. She had already expected this question from Xiaochen. Seeing the determination in Xiaochen's pitch-black eyes, Feng Feishue's pretty face revealed some melancholy. Helping you is the same as helping myself. As for the exact reason, it is not convenient for me to tell you now. When you and I can truly decide our own fates, the answer will automatically come to light. It seemed like Feng Feishue still did not want to tell him the reason, the secret of the disappearance of the blue dragon martial spirit, and why Xiao Zhan chased her out of the clan. These were the secrets that had troubled Xiaochen for a long time. It seemed like it would be difficult to get answers from Feng Feishue. What did she mean by truly deciding our own fates? Could it be that Xiaochen and Feng Feishue's fates were not in his hands now? Seeing the silent Xiaochen, Feng Feishue said softly, if you really want to know, you can make a trip to the imperial capital. However, I hope that before you go, you will have absolute strength. Otherwise, your fate will be completely controlled by others. As the last inheritor of the Blue Dragon martial spirit, your existence implicates the interests of too many people. It would not be an exaggeration to say that every step you take is filled with danger. Back then, when your father chased you out of the Xiao clan, one of the main reasons was because of the benefits involved. He could not bear it. The entire Xiao clan could not bear it. All you can do is become stronger. There is no other way. Feng Feishue's words caused Xiaochen to feel a headache. She was talking about the existence of the Blue Dragon martial spirit. Xiaochen had a vague guess in his heart. Perhaps the energy that the Blue Dragon martial spirit carried was far greater than he imagined. However, he did not dare to think too deeply about it. He even purposely downplayed the connection between himself and the Blue Dragon martial spirit. This was because the greater the power, the greater the responsibility. He was just a transmigrator. There was no need for him to be involved in so many schemes. He only wanted to live for himself, to be more simple, to slowly walk the path of cultivation, to reach the peak step by step. However, Feng Feishue's words confirmed some of Xiaochen's guesses. From the day he awakened the Blue Dragon martial spirit, whether he was active or passive, willing or unwilling, he was already implicated in certain matters. No matter how he tried to avoid it, he could not avoid it. Picking up the teacup, Xiaochen drained it in one gulp. He placed the teacup heavily on the wooden table and calmed himself down. He said, "No matter what the truth is, I am living for myself and the people I care about. In the end, my fate is something that I have to fight for myself. I am indebted to you. If I want to repay you in the future, I will not hesitate to do so. I will take my leave first." After Xiaochen spoke, he directly left this place. Feng Feishue looked at Xiaochen's departing figure with an astonished expression on her face. After a long time, a secret door outside the hall opened. A beautiful woman wearing red robes appeared in the hall. The beautiful woman had an elegant aura. She was about 30 years old, but her exquisite face made her look like she was only 18 or 19. Time did not seem to have left any traces on her face. If one looked carefully, they might discover that Xiaochen bore some resemblance to this woman. When Feng Feishue saw the beautiful woman, she said softly, "Aunt, he is right in front of you. Are you not going to come out and meet him?" The beautiful woman revealed a trace of sorrow in her eyes. The corners of her eyes seemed to be moist. She said softly, "There is no need. I owe him too much. I am already satisfied just to hear his voice." Feng Feishue went to the window of the tall building and looked out. She saw Xiaochen turning into a purple beam of light and flying away quickly. She said indifferently, "I believe that he is the person I am waiting for. I will do my best to fight against the decision of my father and the elders' assembly. The promise that has lasted for 1,000 years must be passed down." There was still a sentence in her heart that she did not say out loud. It was as Xiaochen said, "In the end, fate is something that you have to fight for yourself." The woman that Feng Feishue referred to as her aunt looked at Feng Feishue and seemed to think of herself in the past. She sighed in her heart. After leaving the victorious chief pawnshop, Xiaochen rested in an inn for 2 days. Then he started to complete the remaining Black Sect missions. During the missions, he heard Feng Feishue spread the news that the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron was already in the hands of the Feng clan, and that people were welcome to come and take a look. When Xiaochen first heard this news, he was slightly stunned. However, he quickly figured it out. Feng Feishue was trying to divert everyone's attention from Xiaochen. The Dragon Phoenix Cauldron was like the eye of a storm. It attracted the attention of many powers. No matter where Xiaochen went, his Dragon Phoenix Cauldron would attract attention. Of course, it would be attention with malicious intent. Unless he delivered the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, he would be protected by a strong power. By doing this, Feng Feishue had done Xiaochen a great favor. 1 month later, Xiaochen completed all the high-ranked missions he had received. He started his journey back to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Without the restrictions of missions, he rushed back at full speed. He returned to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion in half a month. Then, Xiaochen headed straight for the Hall of Contributions on the Heaven Viewing platform. On the second floor of the Hall of Contributions, the person in charge of accepting missions verified the mission contracts that Xiao Chen handed over one by one. You completed all the Black Sect missions in 3 months. I did not expect you to actually do it. The person in charge of the Hall of Contributions said in astonishment after he checked the contracts. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not say anything. These high-ranked missions were all made after careful consideration. Without absolute confidence, Xiao Chen would not accept so many high-ranked missions in one go. Chapter 333. There is a total of 30,000 contribution points. Take a look, that person said enviously. 30,000 contribution points were obtained by one person at the same time. This was the first time he had seen such a thing in his many years as an administrator. Xiao Chen received it calmly and gave his thanks. The administrator behind him said, Yi Chen, the first elder said that after you return, you should find some time to look for him. Xiao Chen stopped and turned around. He asked, Is it urgent? That administrator said, Not really. He specifically instructed you to go if you have time. If you don't, then forget it. As that administrator spoke, he looked at Xiao Chen enviously. It had to be known that the first elder was now the person in charge of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. He had never seen the first elder so polite to anyone before. It could only be said that Xiao Chen's potential was too high. Xiao Chen nodded gently and left. He could roughly guess why the first elder was looking for him. However, since it was not urgent, he would put it aside for now. After the mission handover was completed, Xiao Chen immediately rushed to Qingyan Peak. In the entire Heavenly Saber Pavilion, that was the only place that gave him a sense of belonging. As Xiao Chen slowly walked up the long steps of Qingyan Peak, he looked at the familiar scenery around him. He felt an inexplicable warmth in his heart. When Bai, who was in the spirit blood jade, felt its surroundings, it immediately came out. It jumped onto Xiao Chen's shoulder and stretched its limbs. It looked extremely cute. Big brother Yi Chen, when did you return? Xiao Yang and Xiao Meng, who were preparing to go down the mountain, suddenly saw Xiao Chen's figure. The two of them ran over joyfully. Bai was very familiar with Xiao Yang and Xiao Meng. When it saw the two of them, it immediately stood up on Xiao Chen's shoulder and greeted them with iya sound. This made the two of them laugh. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly and carried Bai down. He nodded and smiled. I just returned not long ago. How are elder sister Ruyue's injuries? Xiaoming was playing with Bai. When she heard Xiao Chen's question, she looked up and said with a smile, You will know when you see it yourself. There will be a surprise. Xiao Yang and I are going down the mountain. Based on Xiaoming's tone, it seemed like the injuries to Lu Ruyue's meridians were completely healed. However, Xiao Chen found it strange what the so-called surprise was. Xiao Yang, who was at the side, smiled and said, Big brother Yi Chen, go quickly. When elder sister Ruyue sees you, she will definitely be happy. Elder sister Ruyue has been in the dueling grounds for the past few days. Xiao Chen nodded lightly. After bidding farewell to the two of them, he quickened his pace and flew towards the training ground. Before Xiao Chen got close to the training ground, he felt a strong aura. Furthermore, Xiao Chen was very familiar with this aura. Xiao Chen stopped outside the training ground and muttered, This is the aura of a martial king. Furthermore, it is very pure. Did elder sister Ruyue break through? It seemed like it. Lu Ruyue was only a step away from becoming a martial king for a long time. Now that she obtained the tendon refining flower and was reborn, she should have broken through. Furthermore, this experience would probably allow her to advance to peak inferior grade martial king. Even some of the veteran martial kings would not be a match for her. For a long time, one of the main reasons why no one came to Qingyan Peak was because there were no martial kings holding down the fort. Now it looked like this was a thing of the past. Xiao Chen felt joy from the bottom of his heart. He could not wait to enter the dueling grounds. Boom, boom, boom. In the training field, a series of powerful auras exploded continuously. Lu Suifeng and Lu Ruyue were exchanging moves in the dueling grounds. However, Lu Suifeng looked rather miserable. Rather than exchanging moves, he was more like a sandbag. Elder sister, you don't have to be so ruthless. I am your younger brother. Lu Suifeng begged as he dodged Lu Ruyue's attacks. Bang! Lu Ruyue said calmly. An unpolished jade is worthless. If you cannot even endure this little bit of hardship, how can I hand Qingyan Peak over to you in the future? Lu Ruyue swung her scabbard and knocked away Lu Suifeng's saber. The scabbard struck Lu Suifeng's wrist heavily, causing him to cry out in pain. Lu Suifeng glanced around and suddenly saw Xiaochen outside the training ground. His eyes lit up and he quickly called out joyfully, "Elder sister, Yichen is here. Can you stop now?" Lu Ruyue directly struck Lu Suifeng's chest. She smiled faintly. "Using this move to trick me into slacking off again. It is no longer effective." Lu Suifeng was in so much pain that he could not breathe properly. He coughed a few times and said, "Elder sister, it's true. Look outside." Although Lu Ruyue did not believe it, she could not help but turn her head to look. She immediately saw a calm Xiaochen outside the training ground. She immediately stopped what she was doing. Lu Suifeng took advantage of this opportunity to quickly leave the battlefield and rush towards Xiaochen. "Yichen, you finally came back. If you still did not come back, I would have been beaten to death by my elder sister," Lu Suifeng said bitterly as he patted Xiaochen's shoulder. Xiaochen was knocked back 3 days by Lu Suifeng's palm strike. He had thoroughly experienced Lu Suifeng's enthusiasm. He stood firmly and smiled gently. "You should be rejoicing. Look at this palm strike. Your strength has clearly increased significantly." Lu Suifeng smiled embarrassedly. Then he said mysteriously, "It's just so. Compared to you, I am much weaker. I will be leaving first. You will have a pleasant surprise later." Xiaochen found this strange. Why is everyone talking about a pleasant surprise? What exactly is the pleasant surprise? Lu Ruyue gently leaped down from the dueling grounds arena. Her tight red robes accentuated her graceful figure as she walked over to Xiaochen. Lu Ruyue's flirtatious face had a trace of shyness. Her expression seemed to be somewhat nervous. However, she seemed to have made up her mind and quickly walked over to Xiaochen. "Oh." Before Xiaochen could react, Lu Ruyue's tender red lips quickly pecked his lips. It was like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, and she quickly retreated. Outside the dueling grounds, Lu Suifeng, Xiao Yang and Xiao Meng, who had already agreed to leave, all appeared together. They stared at this scene without blinking. "Haha, my elder sister is really bold. However, she did what she said. I like it." Lu Suifeng laughed loudly at the side. Xiao Ming giggled and said, "However, it seems like she did not have much experience." That was it. Xiao Yang smiled and said, "Haha, she did not have any experience in the first place. The only time was when Big Brother Yichen took the initiative. We can leave now. If we don't, elder sister Ruyue will go berserk." Behind the three of them, Bai looked at the two of them strangely. His large eyes were filled with doubt. The moment Xiao Yang spoke, Lu Suifeng and Xiao Ming immediately reacted. Xiao Ming held on to Bai and quickly retreated. Is this the so-called pleasant surprise? Xiaochen muttered to himself. His delicate face blushed slightly. He did not know what to do. Although this was not the first time he kissed Lu Ruyue, the last time they kissed was passively. However, previously, the two of them were passive. This time it was different. This time, Lu Ruyue was the one taking the initiative. Xiaochen's heart, which had always been as calm as an ancient well, had a slight ripple. He asked with some difficulty, "Elder sister Ruyue, what are you doing?" Lu Ruyue originally had a bashful expression. However, when she saw Xiaochen in such a predicament, she felt happy instead. She laughed loudly and said, "This is a reward for you. Thank you for the tendon refining flower. If not for the tendon refining flower, I would be a cripple. I would not have broken through to Martial King. Just thanks." Xiaochen felt slightly disappointed in his heart. He said softly, "That is what I should do. It was a coincidence that I obtained the tendon refining flower." This fellow really does not know how to speak, Lu Ruyue thought gloomily to herself. Never mind, his wooden character cannot be changed. Lu Ruyue held on to Xiaochen's hand and said softly, "Let's not talk about this anymore. I'll bring you to see something." Xiaochen followed, feeling suspicious. When they arrived at a corner of the dueling grounds, Lu Ruyue let go of Xiao Chen's hand and said, "This is it. Take a look." Ancient sabers were stabbed into the ground. The sabers contained a vigorous and ancient aura. Over 1,000 ancient sabers were arranged in a mysterious and complicated formation. The ancient aura on the sabers merged together. Xiao Chen stood in front and closed his eyes to feel it. It was like a magnificent army with thousands of men and horses charging at him with a surging killing chi. Kill, 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 kill. The red throne in his sea of consciousness trembled continuously. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and said in astonishment, "This is a miniature ancient absolute saber formation. However, why does it feel different from before? The ancient aura is even denser. The killing chi contained in it is on a completely different level from before." Lu Ruyue revealed a satisfied smile. "You guessed right. Every saber here has a history of more than 10,000 years. They are true ancient weapons. This ancient absolute saber formation will definitely help you comprehend listening to the sword and communicating with it." Xiao Chen was very moved. For Lu Ruyue to be able to find such ancient weapons, she must have put in a lot of effort. Xiao Chen knew from Lu Suifeng that Lu Ruyue owed Lu Chen a favor for the ancient weapons she borrowed in the past. This time, in order to obtain so many ancient weapons, she must have spent a lot more than before. Actually, Lu Ruyue knew that once she comprehended listening to the sword and communicating with it, it would be time for her to leave Qingyan Peak. However, Lu Ruyue still helped him without hesitation. This kindness was something Xiao Chen found hard to accept. Xiao Chen said sincerely, "Ruyue, thank you. I promise you that no matter what, I will help Qingyan Peak obtain the first rank in the Inner Disciple ranking competition." The Inner Disciple ranking competition was the last thing that Xiao Chen wanted to do for Qingyan Peak, while he was in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. He could only do this to help Lu Ruyue recover Qingyan Peak. A look of astonishment flashed on Lu Ruyue's face. She did not hear what Xiao Chen said at the end. There was a look of pleasant surprise on her flirtatious face as she said, "What did you call me?" Xiao Chen suddenly understood. "Sorry, I said the wrong thing, elder sister Ruyue." Lu Ruyue giggled and said, "Hey, am I that scary? Why are you apologizing? You did not say anything wrong. I will allow you to call me Ruyue in the future. Remember, you are not allowed to change the way you address me." Xiao Chen felt somewhat embarrassed as he said, "Got it. Elder sister Ruyue, no, it's Ryu." Xiao Chen accidentally said it again. When he saw Lu Ruyue's expression change, he quickly rushed over. Only then did Lu Ruyue smile in satisfaction. Chapter 334. You have just returned from a long journey. Go and rest in the ancient absolute saber formation and give it a try, Lu Ruyue suggested. Xiao Chen thought about it and agreed. This strengthened version of the ancient absolute saber formation would definitely have an additional risk compared to the previous one. He was not fully prepared for it yet. It would be good to rest for a day before giving it a try. Xiao Chen took his leave and headed to his courtyard. The courtyard was very clean and tidy. The fallen leaves were swept to the side. The stone table was also spotless. It was clear that during the time Xiao Chen was away, someone came to clean the courtyard frequently. Xiao Chen sat at the stone table absent-mindedly. When he walked out of the dueling grounds, he felt that his mind had not calmed down. Earlier, he had only forcefully suppressed his emotions in front of Lu Ruyue. Now he could no longer hold it in and let it all erupt. He had never been in such a state before. If it was in the past, he would definitely use the time before the sky turned dark and not waste it at all on cultivation. He would definitely not be like this now, sitting in the courtyard and letting his thoughts run wild. Actually, ever since the last time Lu Ruyue was injured and her mind was in a mess, Xiao Chen already had a vague feeling that Lu Ruyue had unknowingly taken up a very important position in his heart. When did this feeling start? Xiao Chen himself was not clear. Perhaps it started when Lu Ruyue blocked Song Kei's attack for him. Actually, he had already unknowingly fallen into that kiss. After that, he unknowingly fell even deeper. However, he was engrossed in cultivation and neglected it. Or perhaps it could be said that he purposely ignored the truest feelings in his heart. Only when Lu Ruyue was injured did it erupt with such intensity. Her pain was like hitting him, causing him to be unable to calm down. Night slowly descended. There was no moon tonight, only a sky full of stars, flickering with starlight. Xiaochen sat alone in the courtyard for a long time. Lu Riyue's kiss during the day disturbed Xiaochen's mind once again. It was even more intense than when Lu Riyue was injured. This was an uncontrollable longing. At this moment, Xiaochen's mind was filled with Lu Riyue's figure. That calm kiss seemed to linger on his lips. Xiaochen did his best to calm his thoughts. He looked at the starlight filling the sky and took a deep breath. He leaped into the air and flew over the wall, heading for Lu Riyue's independent courtyard. Xiaochen moved like a flood dragon. His speed was as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, he stopped on a big tree outside Lu Riyue's courtyard. A series of soft shouts came from the courtyard. Xiaochen's eyes were like lightning. With the help of the weak starlight, he could clearly see the situation in the courtyard. It was already late at night, but Lu Riyue did not feel sleepy. She was focused on practicing a set of saber techniques. A strong wind blew in the courtyard, kicking up countless fallen leaves. Sharp saber chi spread out in all directions. However, with Xiaochen's eyes, he could tell that Lu Riyue's mental state was somewhat unstable. As a result, her saber techniques were full of openings. If she fought an enemy like this, there would be serious consequences. Xiaochen watched quietly as Lu Riyue practiced her saber techniques in the courtyard. He revealed a faint smile on his face and slowly calmed down. After an hour, Xiaochen quietly descended from the tree and headed for his courtyard. Xiaochen already had an answer to the hazy feelings in his heart. However, he did not have any confidence in how to proceed. Perhaps it was better this way. Wang. Just at this moment, the spirit blood jade in front of his chest suddenly trembled. Xiaochen's expression changed slightly. He said in surprise, "What happened to Bai? Why is the spirit blood cloud pulsating so intensely?" The warning from the spirit blood jade startled Xiaochen. The spirit blood jade was the link between Xiaochen and Bai. It would only give a warning when one of them was in grave danger. Xiaochen activated the windwalk shoes and raised his speed to the limit. Then he rushed in the direction that he sensed. After a while, Xiaochen had already left the range of Qingyan Peak. However, the place that he sensed was still some distance away. Xiaochen stopped in a lush forest. Xiaochen was no stranger to this forest. Normally, when Xiaochen practiced or tested out new martial techniques, he would choose this place. Because this place was very desolate and Qingyan Peak had very few people. No matter how big of a commotion he made, no one would discover him. Since Bai came here, she was definitely not ambushed. Xiaochen slowly calmed down. However, the spirit blood jade pulsated even more intensely. What happened this time? Xiaochen frowned. He could not figure it out. Could it be that I killed myself? Boom. Boom. A huge energy fluctuation spread out. Xiaochen's speed increased again. Occasionally, there would be flashes of light in the dark forest. The light caused the forest to flicker between bright and dark. A horrifying energy fluctuation spread out in the air. A strong wind blew, causing the trees to sway left and right. Countless leaves flew around and dust filled the air. Xiaochen gathered his essence in front of him, and the falling leaves and dust exploded into powder. There seemed to be a storm in the middle of the forest. It kicked up a strong wind and gave off a shocking energy fluctuation. What exactly is going on? This energy fluctuation has already reached the boundary of a rank 7 spirit beast. Furthermore, it is still increasing. Xiaochen thought to himself. No matter what, he had to hurry over to understand something. So. Xiaochen pierced through the forest like an arrow. He could not be bothered to avoid some of the trees blocking his way. He simply punched them to pieces. Xiaochen used brute force to carve a path through the dense forest. The spirit blood jade in front of Xiaochen's chest started to give off a bright scarlet light. He felt a warm sensation on his chest. It was frighteningly hot. Huchi. After a while, Xiaochen finally arrived at the center of the storm. Bai's entire body was snow-white. At this moment, her entire body was flickering with a jade-like luster. There was a weak figure reflected in her body. That figure was struggling non-stop. as though it was enduring some kind of immense pain. Under the illumination of the starlight, she gave off a different kind of brilliance. She was very beautiful. Energy ripples danced in the air around her, looking like crystalline ribbons. As the ribbons danced, a gust of wind surged out, forming a ferocious whirlwind that spread through the forest. When Xiaochen saw all this, he was completely stunned. He said in disbelief, "This is shape-shifting. Could it be that when she sneaked out at night in the past, she was trying to shape-shift? This is too dangerous." Bai's cultivation realm was not high enough. Normally, shape-shifting spirit beasts would only attempt it after they reached rank 8. A rank 8 spirit beast was equivalent to a human martial monarch. Furthermore, the success rate was only about 50%. Normally, only those that had gained intelligence would choose to shapeshift. To spirit beasts, shapeshifting was a great opportunity. However, this opportunity was accompanied by boundless danger. What an idiot! She is too reckless. If I had known this would happen, I would not have passed the mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation to her. Xiaochen said somewhat vexedly. If not for the mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation, Bai would not have risked her life to try. Unfortunately, it was already at a crucial moment. It was too late to stop it. That would only cause the shape-shifting to fail, and turn Bai to dust. Boom, boom, boom. As Xiaochen was thinking, resplendent pillars of light came from Bai's body. The horrifying energy ripples swept over, turning the surrounding trees into dust. Bang! Xiaochen sent out a palm strike and shattered the energy ripples flying at him. However, just as he shattered one, a few more flickering pillars of light surged over with a surging torrent. The attack of a peak rank 7 demonic beast was simply too strong. Xiaochen had no choice but to retreat a few hundred meters. Then he soared into the air and landed on the top of a tree. Unexpectedly, the shape-shifting of a spirit beast would attract such intense energy fluctuations. Furthermore, Bai was only a rank 6 spirit beast. If it was a true rank 8 spirit beast that shape-shifted, how horrifying would the energy be? Xiaochen stared at Bai, who was in the pillar of light, his heart filled with worry. With such strong energy, if he was not careful, he would be crushed to death. The resplendent pillar of light soared into the sky and shone for a long time. The surrounding spiritual energy flew towards Bai like rain. In the end, the spiritual energy became too dense. Countless specks of starlight floated in the air. These specks of starlight were all made of spiritual energy. The densely packed specks of starlight sparkled in the dark night like gorgeous stars. The tiny human figure in Bai's jade-like skin slowly became clearer as spiritual energy poured in. Now it only lacked the final step, accepting the baptism of heaven and earth before it could truly shapeshift. The so-called baptism of heaven and earth was, to put it bluntly, a punishment from the heavenly Daos. This step was also the most dangerous one. Spirit beasts and humans were completely unrelated species created by the heavenly Daos. Regardless of whether a human wanted to become a spirit beast or a spirit beast wanted to become a human, it was a huge challenge to the heavenly Daos. If he could survive the fight against the heavenly Dao, not only would he be able to transform successfully, moreover, he could even steal a trace of the heavenly Dao and obtain karmic luck, allowing him to have unlimited potential in the future. Xiaochen looked up and saw the boundless clouds churning in the sky. Thunder rumbled. The baptism of the heavenly Daos was already brewing. The beautiful human figure in Bai's body seemed to sense the might of the heavenly Daos. She sat down cross-legged and silently circulated the mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation technique. A thin golden halo appeared around Bai's body, giving her jade-like body a dignified and sacred feeling. Xiaochen frowned heavily as he looked at the increasingly horrifying electric might and pressure accumulating. His heart slowly leaped to his throat. He felt incredibly nervous. Boom! The continuously accumulating lightning might finally reached a critical point. Then it exploded. A silver snake tore through the sky, heading straight for Bai. When the berserk lightning struck the golden halo, it gave off a loud sound. Countless specks of dust flew up from the surrounding ground and filled the air in an instant, completely obscuring Xiaochen's vision. The ground started to tremble. The tree that Xiaochen was on shook violently. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.